I wanna make sound. I wanna change everything. I wanna know it, feel it, take it all. I wanna fix everything. But the hardest part of this is to take who you are and change what you need. Stuck in a place you're not meant to be. Take all your doubts, take it from me. You made your chains, now be your release. I wanna scream out, 'cause I can't stand this wait and see. 'Cause I've been way down, way too long. There's still a pulse in me. But the hardest part of this is to take who you are and change what you need. Stuck in a place you're not meant to be. Take all your doubts, take it from me. You made your chains, now be your release. Who let you down? Who let you down? There is no easy way out. Who let you down? Who let you down? The right words, the wrong time. A hard look at the hard lines. Who let you down right now? There is no easy way out. Take who you are and change what you need. Stuck in a place you're not meant to be. Take all your doubts, take it from me. You made your chains, now be your release. Who let you down right now? Who let you down? There is no easy way out. It's just the way I can't keep you honest like you're coming clean. It's just the way you seem to be addicted to leaving me. It's just the way now that I can't sleep at night. Now that you're gone, it's just the way you don't know which direction I was coming from. It's just the way I can't seem to tell apart all of your rights from wrongs. It's just the way now that I know
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Daytona International Speedway, here for race 1 of the Lodgebox series. No better place to kick off the season than the high banks of Daytona. 31 degrees of banking in the corner, and it is sure to be an absolutely amazing race here tonight in the Lodgebox series season opener. I'm Jacob Bell, owner of Aria iRacing here, and the league you'll be watching for tonight's event. Joining me in the broadcast booth is our producer, Harold Darner, who is also the production coordinator for Aria and One to Go Studios. Harold, how you doing tonight?
And doing good, man. We're going for 3 for 3. Let's see some more green flag pit stops tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of been the theme of the week a little bit leading up to tonight. The ARCA series and our Swift Lifestyles Pro series that raced on Monday night put together a fantastic show, led to a lot of green flag pit stops in that race. Coming to tonight, it's going to be interesting to see if that trend continues. Last night, of course, with the Northern Capital Truck Series, we saw 2 rounds of green flag pit stops, so a little bit unexpected given the chaos that we were looking forward to, and we haven't really seen too much of it yet, but that could all change tonight here at Daytona. Happy to have you guys with us, joining us on our Twitch channel. It's surely going to be quite the show tonight, so I recommend all you guys stay tuned and follow along, and don't forget tomorrow night's event. We have the Area 500 presented by Miller Racing Graphics for the inaugural, can't say that word, but I gave it a shot there, and for the first year of the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series. So looking forward to having you guys with us and following along here tonight. And Harold, it's an honor to have you in the booth with me, and I think we're going to see a great show.
Well, definitely. We're talking about it like Monday night. We had the ARCA cars where they didn't set up well for pushing. Last night we had the trucks where that was pushed to the front all night, and these Xfinity cars definitely also have that ability to push the cars around the racetrack. So we'll be seeing a lot of draft like we have our 3 wide right here with the 49 leading the way.
Yeah, and that, of course, Alan Elwood there in the 49. A lot of really stout racers here in this field tonight. I think we're going to be something, that's definitely going to be something to keep your eye on for the rest of the season. Very talented field, of course, as you see here, Alan Elwood in the number 49. One of the best that's probably in this series. I think we'll see him running up front quite a bit, but he will not be alone. There's going to be a lot of guys that we're going to be keeping an eye on here as you get a chance to kind of check out our in-car camera there as we're on board with Alan Elwood right now. That's actually David Weishart in the shot, switching it over real quick. Going to get back over to Alan Elwood's feed. There he is. So awesome job by Harold here at One to Go Studios, bringing us this live footage feed that we got here. So you can get a little bit of an in-depth look at what these drivers are going through behind the virtual reel and in their real life setups. Harold, it's a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, we check out 13. We talked about him because he actually has the car set up. There you go, where he's almost looking around now. He's checking out the inside of the car. There he goes. But if you haven't been in VR, I mean, these people who haven't had a chance to look at VR, I went from single screen to VR back to triple screens because I like the information, but being under VR was like being back in the race car again. It was really cool. As you look down, there's a fire extinguisher right there. If you turn all the way around, you can actually see out the rear window. So it's a lot. It's pretty cool to watch in VR. Really puts you inside the race car. And I'll also say though, and I'll put this out to all VR drivers, there's no reason for you to be cutting people off because you can look over your left shoulder.
There you go. I think as we saw, we're right on board. You mentioned with Andrew Player, he even gave us a little wave, so he's more than aware that we're going to be looking inside of his race car here tonight. But the VR setup is definitely provides, like you were saying there, Harold, some different advantages for a lot of these guys, or disadvantages depending on how you want to look at it. But no, I think it's going to be awesome, and now we got the in-car shot with David Weishart. To go back to this throughout the night, you know, we're going to have a lot of intense moments towards the end of the race, some big wrecks, and to be able to catch a lot of these guys, you know, going and trying to navigate through the chaos is going to be, I think it's going to be awesome to take a look at. So awesome to have that here tonight. Of course, we got 2 minutes left to practice of this 40-minute practice session before we head straight into qualifying, where these drivers will get 2 qualifying laps. It's going to take 10 minutes for that session before that they decide to grid up here for the 110 lap race we got here tonight at Daytona, and of course the season opener once again of the Lodgebox series here. If you guys are interested in what we got going on, make sure to check out www.areairacing.com. That's our website. You can find a lot more info about the league and our schedule and everything else we got working for this upcoming season. Of course, obviously it's a little late if you want to get registered, but we'll keep those registrations open for a few weeks here. Our truck series, our Northern Capital truck series, actually completely full. But later down the road, I'm sure there'll be some openings, and as always, we'll love to have you next season as well. But looking forward to qualifying here. I think we're going to see a lot of different strategies. A lot of guys, of course, are going to run that top side of the racetrack on lap number 1 before dropping it all the way to the bottom for lap number 2 to try to pick up speed. And then the other strategy play I think we'll see and have to look forward to, a lot of these guys probably won't even try to qualify at all. They'd rather start in the back here, Harold.
Yeah, definitely. That's kind of the thing here at Daytona. If you got a team of 3 cars or more, so if you got a 4-car team or a 3-car team or 2 teams working together to make that 4-car or better, then you can actually stay in the back and make a 2nd or 3rd pack and stay away from the craziness that's going to be up front, and kind of dictate your pit strategy and wait and be around for the last 15 laps.
Yeah, I think surviving is going to be key tonight. We saw it last night in the Truck Series race that we had here at Daytona. There was a lot of chaos, more so towards the last 20 or 30 laps. The cautions kind of started building up. And then, of course, I think our guy we had up here in the booth last night, Ken Cushwood, did an awesome job documenting it. He was kind of waiting. He kept his eye on Danny Ware and Brad Slaughter Jr. last night because they were playing it patient and staying in the back and keeping their trucks clean. And then with 15 to go, they stormed to the front and kind of controlled the race from there on. And Brad Slaughter Jr. eventually took it to victory lane. So potentially laid down a good game plan for a lot of these guys to utilize tonight here as practice is winding down the final seconds, and we're going to head into qualifying.
Qualifying has begun, and like you said, we're going to see these guys go out there. They're going to go right up against the wall to get that car wound up as high as they can, get the tires heated up, and then put that 2nd lap down for their hot lap. And what's interesting is you might be fast here as a single car, but it's a completely different game when you're around a lot of cars. So just because you qualified well doesn't mean you're going to be pack racing well.
And you see the beautiful shots on the screen right now. You kind of see that sun starting to set. I think this race, I think we might get the green flag with a little bit of sunlight left on the track, but I know by the time the checkered flag falls, we're going to be completely in darkness, with the only thing lighting the track going to be the stadium lights around the course. So it's going to be a little bit different to see how the temperatures change and drop as it gets darker and darker, as you see a few cars now starting to make their way out onto the track for qualifying. And of course, that's the number 15 there of Cameron Hearn in the bright yellow and black Toyota Supra. Cameron is a returning member here in our community, and we're glad to see him hop on board. Of course, he's going to be racing with his VRA teammates, and that's the likes of Alan Elwood and others, as we'll see them making their ways to the track to qualify. But there you see it right away, jumps up to the top side of the track. He's going to run the high as he can on lap number 1 and try to just build up some steam in that race car before he takes his 2nd lap. So we'll watch Cameron here as he works through lap number 1 here at Daytona.
I've had the pleasure of working with Cameron Hearn last season at Lightspeed Racing League, and he's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I'm glad to see him over here racing. I know he's a VR headset guy out of South Carolina. Different paint scheme, though, that I've seen him in. I've seen him in the B sales. This is the first time I've seen him in this lime green car.
I was going to mention there, his teammates over at VRA, Alan Elwood. Elwood Designs does a lot of the paint scheme work over there, as well as the number 38 of Shane Thier, and we're going to get a chance to see him tonight as that 3rd VRA entry, and we'll have to keep an eye on him and see how that team fares. But another team we're going to have to watch tonight, Samson Motorsports. We'll talk a little bit about them once we see some of their drivers on the track if they do decide to qualify. Is Hearn there, you see the move getting dropped down to the bottom side of the racetrack. Dean Prince in the number 99 actually is going to post the quickest time so far with a 50.855 in that number 99 machine. Reed Wilson in the number 69 is going to jump to 2nd on the board, but I think these times will change quite a bit before we get to the end of our qualifying session here. As we're still riding on here with Cameron Hearn as he's working lap number 2 now. We'll see a lot more of a competitive time get posted and see where he shakes out with the rest of the field.
Right, just trying to see if we get any of our in-car guys out there on the racetrack. We're going to kind of sit with this one car to give you an idea of what it looks like on a 2-lap system out here for qualifying, and then we'll move on out. Alan Elwood is out there right now, so let's get in him. Well, he's waiting for the right weather. It's interesting. He's like, I got that out there, Mr. Elwood. No. I tricked you. So, go back
we saw
and
Hearn come to the stripe and complete his second lap. He's actually going to run a 50.688. It's going to put him third on the charts. Going to the top right now, the number 51 of Ricky Springer, who's subbing in for Go Slow Racing. He's kind of a sub driver for Connor Okresic, who's not able to make it here tonight. But he will have the entry for Go Slow Racing in that number 51 machine. Andrew Player in the number 13, another one of those guys who's kind of jumping in with Go Slow for tonight as he's trying to help them in their quest for a team championship. They asked for a late sub, and I believe Andrew Player was the one who jumped on board with them there as you get the in-car look of what he's going to be going through here on his qualifying laps. Just now coming onto the apron. And this is a tricky part of the racetrack. A lot of people can get the tires to kind of start squealing when you're trying to make up as much speed as possible through the apron and coming out onto the back straightaway for your qualifying lap. It's also very important to get that speed built up as quick as you can.
And you got to make sure you keep the car off of the racing surface until you get past the blue cone. I know a lot of guys will get up there and completely disqualify themselves just basically by cutting the cone early.
And there's Player.
All the way up to the high side of the track, building that speed. As you're watching, look how cool and calm he looks like in real life behind that wheel of that car.
Well, one of the notes about Daytona, a lot of people mention, the track, physically and skill-wise is very easy track, especially when you're by yourself. It doesn't really take too much to get quick around here, by yourself when you're running, with your own car. But when you stack them up 3 wide, 10 rows deep, it's a completely different ball game. And I think that's going to be something we'll get a chance to see tonight as Ricky Springer, that is, the number 51, still in the top of the charts so far, halfway through qualifying. And that number 51 machine. Michael Arch in the number 6 is actually going to jump to the second spot for the moment, at least. So we'll have to see how the rest of the field stacks in here. And I think we're also seeing the strategy of starting in the back for a lot of these drivers. Not a lot of people have made their laps yet. I think we got 26 entries for tonight. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 26 drivers, and we've only seen 12 qualifying laps posted.
Yeah, and these guys are looking at getting themselves together, but 2/10 separates the entire field right now. Not like that's just maybe turning the wheel right just a tad bit or too much, or shaking the wheel too much. As we see Player, getting right along that down that yellow line and letting the car roll up to about the middle of the track on the backstretch. That's the preferred line.
Yeah, I was going to say, trying to keep the wheel as straight as possible on the straightaways, too, is another key component to your qualifying lap. His first lap, obviously running the top, is going to put him 12th for the moment. It's coming to the strike to finish his second lap. I anticipate to see a jump in the standings here, and we'll see where he shakes out. But it's a great point you mentioned there, Harold. Only 2/10 throughout the entire top 10 that's completed their second lap so far. As Player reaches the stripe there in the number 13 McConey setup shop car, and he's going to jump up to second place. The 50.643 there for Andrew Player in the number 13.
Keep an eye on him tonight with our in-car cam. We appreciate all of our drivers that are participating in the in-car camera, so that you can also, if you're a ARIA driver and you want to participate, you put yourself into the OBS Ninja links before the broadcast. Now, it's important to do this before we go live, because once we go live, I cannot add you. It's very important 15 minutes before we go live that you actually add that link, or I will not be able to do that. We do like to have drivers like that. I appreciate you guys, the 3 of you guys, jumping in and helping us out tonight.
Player now, bringing it down to pit road as we're riding on board with Rafe Slate in the number 8. One of those Go Slow Racing drivers for that team as well. So we'll get to see how he fares against the rest of the competition tonight. One of the late qualifiers we had here, and there's the number 43 of Alan Elwood. Another one of those guys jumping in to qualify here towards the later portions of the qualifying session. I think that's something we might see a lot, mainly due to the reason that we mentioned a little bit earlier with the sun going down and the temperature kind of dropping around the racetrack, cooler track temps tend to lead to quicker lap times, so a lot of these guys taking advantage of that. And wait until it gets a little bit darker. We saw Alan actually sitting on pit road there for quite a while before he decided to jump out on the track. So he's starting his first lap right now in that number 49. He's waiting until the last possible second. I think he's going to finish this second lap, Harold, next time by with probably about 5 or 6 seconds left over on the clock. So he's pushing it to the limit there.
All right, I'm going to grab Eric Wineland up here, who's his spotter, and see what he can tell us about what the fuel strategy is going to be tonight. Eric, you're in the booth with Harold and Jake. I know you got your spotting for your guys. He's out here going to try to get the best cool track. It looks like you guys try to wait till the very end of qualifying.
Absolutely. Oh, hang on. Yeah, absolutely. Was actually giving him some coaching here for the lap. He's starting his flyer right now, and I told him just hug the yellow line. That's all you have to do here at Daytona. Of course, my job's going to be much more important when the green flag flies for the race. It's going to be a pretty stressful environment, but this is something I love to do, communicating as much information as I can quickly so he understands it. He's able to react off of it. We were doing a lot of testing there in practice, and it was actually working out pretty well. So we're looking forward to what we can do tonight.
So what's your fuel window tonight, Eric?
I actually asked him the same question, but we wanted to focus on qualifying first, so we don't totally know for sure just yet. I know the Xfinity cars can get somewhere in the neighborhood of 36 to 40 laps, I believe. So cut that down to 3/4 of that number should put you somewhere around 20 to 25 to 30 laps maybe. But we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for it tonight. 50.616, he missed it.
All right. Second place. Good job, Eric. We'll let you go back to VRA. You guys have fun tonight.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. That's kind of cool, Jake. We get to talk to spotters every once in a while, right?
Yeah. I like how he said he was coaching Elwood there through his second lap. He told him to just hug the yellow line, and that's it. That's about all you can ask for on the second lap. And other than that, it's pretty much all in the driver's hands as far as qualifying goes. Speaking of that, qualifying is officially wrapped up now, and we saw a handful of drivers come out there late, and we're going to go ahead and present to you our starting grid for race number 1 here in the Lodgebox series. We got Ricky Springer in the number 51, who's going to earn the pole position and that extra bonus point that goes along with it. Starting second, the driver we were just riding on board with, Alan Elwood, in the number 49 car.
Yeah, row number 2 is Player and Slate, and then row 3 is Theron and Larch.
Row number 4, that's where we're going to see Kevin Hayes roll off from in that number 3 car. Starting 8th is going to be Cameron Hearn. Starting 9th, it's going to be Chris Bouchard. And starting 10th, rounding out our top 10 starters, is Chris Seidefeiden.
And we're going on to row number 6. We got Wilson on that inside, and number 69 outside him. The 19 is Christensen. And then Prince and Shugart in row 7. Row 8, Gagliano with Dixon on the outside.
David Weishart's going to roll off in the inside of row number 9. Right outside of him, his teammate, Garrett Grant, in the number 5. Kyle Sieg will roll off 19th with Ed Robertson starting 20th.
And row 11, 21 is Shane Wolf and Trader on his outside. Inside row 12 is Vollmer, and outside him is Lemke. Rolling out the back is LePage and Highmore, and that's 13 rows deep, 26 drivers for your Lodgebox Series starting grid.
We already got a little bit of drama going down there on pit lane. Kyle Sieg, driver of the number 39, trying to work through some technical issues all night long, and honestly for the past week or so, from my knowledge, and just can't seem to get the bugs worked out. He's going to be an early disconnect already. We'll have to see if he decides to try to hop back in and make something of tonight's race. But a lot of issues going on with the number 39 team for Go Slow Racing as we're rolling off already. The number 51, Ricky Springer, our pole sitter. And kind of interesting note, Ricky was one of the last guys to actually enter this series. He was kind of brought on as a sub for Go Slow Racing. He's going to run with us full time here in the Lodgebox series. But as the second or third to last entry to come in and win the pole is a pretty impressive feat there for Ricky Springer in the number 41, or excuse me, number 51 car.
That's pretty cool that he's able to come up and do so well. And then we watched Alan Elwood and his spotter, which we had up from VRA, and they said we just missed it. But I mean, an outside pole to start the season. I mean, is that just missing it? They were in a good spot.
I think a lot of these guys are going to be shooting for that extra bonus point they're going to get for sitting on the pole. Outside of that, qualifying really doesn't pay any points other than the poles position. So missing it by 2/1000ths, I think the closer you are probably hurts a little bit more because, just like you mentioned earlier, just an inch or so to the left or right on the steering wheel, and that could have made the difference in the qualifying time. But 25 drivers stacked up and ready to roll as they head through turn 3 and 4. Pace car lights are off, so we're going to be getting the green flag as the sun is almost completely set here over the 2.5-mile course of Daytona International Speedway. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining us here over on the Twitch channel and joining us for Area iRacing coverage here, working together with One to Go Studios and Harold Darner, our producer. It's going to be an awesome event. Appreciate you guys riding along with us as the pace car leads them off of turn 4. He's going to make that left-hand turn down into pit road. And once that happens, the field is in the hands of Ricky Springer in the number 51. And there goes the pace car. Ricky Springer holding them till he gets to the restart box. And there he goes. Green flag is out for race number 1 of the Lodgebox series.
Green flag into the air as the field rolls down the tri-oval heading into turn number 1. 2x2 all the way back to row 13.
Springer with a solid start on the inside row, but I will give Alan Elwood some credit out there in the number 49. He is hanging with them, and we are stacked up 2x2 all the way throughout the field. Nobody giving an inch yet. I don't see anybody ducking out of line either. As soon as I mention it, I see David Weishart back there in the number 2 car, decides to pull it down. Other than that, though, we are pushing up towards the front of the field. We got about 18 cars under a blanket.
Yeah, I'm looking here and saying, that's what I was saying. Is it really missing when you get the outside pole? Because the outside line here at Daytona with the Xfinity cars is the stronger line, as you're starting to see that 49 starting to pull away on the straightaways with a 6-car train on the outside.
Yeah, these guys are not taking it easy whatsoever in the first 10 or 15 spots. They are still side by side. They're going to be racing hard, I think, all night long. A lot of these guys are very familiar with each other as well. Kind of builds that trust as you move throughout the season, and a lot of these guys have a lot of experience racing with each other, so that trust factor is already there for quite a few of them. I think we're seeing that now. Ricky Springer, though, in the 51, continuing to show the way. Right behind him in that number 13 is going to be the Andrew Player, who's kind of subbing in for Go Slow Racing, so we're already seeing Go Slow Racing with the 51 of Ricky Springer, the 8 of Rafe Slate, and the 13 of Andrew Player right now sitting second, third, and fourth as we're riding on board here. I think we're going to pull up the camera of Andrew Player. There we go. And kind of take a look at what he's looking at right now as he works off of turn 4 on lap number 2. There you see the in-car shot. He's got the VR headset, so it's a little bit different than a lot of these other guys that are using their monitors and such. But Player, his job right now is to stay tucked in right behind that number 51 of Ricky Springer and try to help his teammate as much as he can. Elwood, though, in the 49 is not giving up yet whatsoever as he's working the top side of the racetrack as we work lap number 3.
Look at the wheel and how he's barely moving it left and to the right, staying right behind the leader, number 51 of Springer. And as you're saying is, I wanted to point out, like as I did yesterday, is you can not see through the car in front of you at all. So you're really working on where he is to figure out where the turn is that's coming up.
Yeah, and you kind of see Player there missed the corner just a little bit for the reason you mentioned. It's really, really hard to see out in front of you, and it gets even tougher the further back you get on the inside line and such, as a lot of these guys are stacking up with cars in front of them. You can't see the corner, you can't see the yellow line. You got to use, judgment and just base it off the field for the most part. As for the first time tonight, we're starting to see a really, really good run on the outside lane build up, and as I say that, Springer on the bottom starts to even it back up. But one thing I wanted to throw out there, Harold, that I'm noticing right away, you jump back to the number 2 of David Weishart, you already see a lot of these guys forming up in the back and kind of making a second pack amongst each other, and I think they're trying to play the patience game that we see so much here at Daytona. You got the 2 of David Weishart, the 5 of Garrett Grant, the 64 of Ed Robertson. All 3 of those drivers are racing for Samson Motorsports, and if you include the 83 of James Shanewolf, he's another one of those guys. So we see teammates in the back kind of taking it steady alongside with some other drivers that we're very familiar with. Justin Lemke in the 35, Nicholas Trader in the 56, Matthew Highmore in the number 1. All these guys are a lot more calm towards the back of the pack as opposed to the front of the field, where we're still 2x2 with Alan Elwood the last time by getting the lap led by a total of 25/1000ths of a second. So it's been dead even.
Well, now you're saying the guys in the back, as you notice, are single file and they have a gap. So they're allowing themselves to be pulled by the car in front of them. So they're saving fuel and having that buffer in case something happens in front of them, they can evade.
We finally had an official lead change as far as the inside line goes. Alan Elwood able to get a nice push there from the 8 of Rafe Slate and drops down to the bottom. Now Rafe Slate is getting a great push from the number 6 of Michael Larch, and he'll drop to the bottom. So for the first time tonight, the number 8 of Rafe Slate is taking over the top spot, and we got the 6 of Michael Larch working the top side of the racetrack, and the 51 of Ricky Springer is going to jump up there with him.
You know, these guys, like last night, you were actually in the race, in the truck series, and, you know, I was talking about dancing partners. Now, do you have a little notepad? They're like, you know, that guy just basically left me to dry out here.
You know, I think in some form you kind of have that plan built up with, you know, your teammates or whatever drivers you're most familiar with. That's what it boils down to for me, at least. A lot of these guys that I've raced with in the past that I'm familiar with at super speedways are the people I'm most comfortable working with if I'm a driver, right? So I think we're already starting to see that. You just saw on the back straightaway there, Cameron Hearn, and there's another car that pulled out of line with him, dropped down to the apron, and they're going back to that second pack. So pretty soon here, that second pack's probably going to be bigger than the first pack as they start working turn 1 and 2 here on lap number 7. I believe that was the 15 there, and the car behind him, the number 38 of Shane Thurin, his VRA teammate. So that makes sense.
And you see the gap between them and the lead pack. They didn't like what was going on up there. A lot of 2x2 racing and a little too much racing going on. Back it up a little bit and, you know, let the cars cool off and get back at it. And we were saying, what, 30 some odd is what Eric was telling us that he thinks that they get per run. So around that 30, so we're only at 7. So, you know, these guys will get green flag around 30 something. But it's not a bad strategy to kind of just say that, pushing a little bit too early and let's back it up.
Yeah, and you see that pack a lot more spread out like you were mentioning there. Up front though, Rafe Slate continues to lead the way now in that number 8 car. Right behind him, the 49 of Alan Elwood, and then the 13 of Andrew Player. That's our top 3 as we work lap number 8 here at Daytona. About 30 laps is what we've been hearing on as far as fuel strategy goes, so can anticipate 3 pit stops tonight. Now, whether they're under green flag or caution conditions is yet to be seen, but want to give a shout out to a few of our presenting sponsors that have been working with us here this season over in Area iRacing. And one of those, Miller Racing Graphics, also the presenting sponsor for the Area 500 tomorrow. Your number 1 source for iRacing graphics, logos, and more. Get 50% off your first paint scheme at facebook.com/MillerSimGraphics. Again, that's Miller Racing Graphics, and we want to thank them for their support over here on our Twitch channel, as well as all of our league racing over in Area, and we look forward to tomorrow night's Area 500. A little bit of a prize purse put up for that as well, so certainly going to be a great event to check out.
You know, as a driver, getting a new set of duds, man. You look good, you look sharp, and you get out there and you give some love to the sponsors. So check out Miller Racing Graphics and, you know, get that chrome look or something that'll pop off the screen when people are watching you.
I think you see that already with a few of these drivers tonight. Awesome paint schemes out here, and I just can't wait to the rest of the week to check out all the new paint schemes we got. That's like my favorite part of every season, is you get to see everybody's fresh paint and the different designs that they're working with. Is Rafe Slate actually going to move up to the top side of the racetrack to throw a block there on that outside lane in the run they had forming up, and didn't really work out too well because now the 49 of Alan Elwood able to peek down low and take that position right back from him. That 13 of Andrew Player, a lot of moving around there in that pink and chrome car, and that's going to cost the inside lane's momentum as you see the 6 of Michael Larch with a huge shot to the 8 of Rafe Slate. He's actually going to make a move down onto the bottom, close racing there for the top spot to move Michael Larch to P1.
Yeah, there's basically a lot of moving and real early in this race. And since you mentioned paint schemes, back to Twitch, something Cushy and I like to do. Start telling us who you think's the best paint scheme, and we'll kind of reward a winner like a 10 to go. So at 100 laps, we'll talk about who the winner is. So if you're in Twitch and you're watching, give us a shout out for the best paint scheme that you've been seeing throughout the night.
A lot of good choices tonight, too, as you kind of look throughout the field. Very colorful. I think the theme we saw in the truck series, there was a lot of white, black, and blue race trucks last night. Tonight, you got a bunch of different colors. I see yellow, pink, white, red, as Rafe Slate once again now is going to go back to the top spot. With a nice push from the 51 of Ricky Springer, so move Rafe to P1, and the number 6 of Michael Arch going to pull right back up to his back bumper. And a lot of these guys, I think, are trying to get set up here and You're going to work through a strategy early on here, so you got a plan here in the next 20 laps or so when you got to come down pit road. And you mentioned it earlier, the fuel strategy for a lot of those guys in the back part of the racing pack, that second pack back there, they're saving a lot more fuel than these guys up front who are pushing.
So far, 2 for the 49 and 1 for the 56. So Elwood already with 2 people saying that he's got the best paint scheme. 49, I do like the way that looks. One of the old kind of throwback for Valvoline, you know?
Yeah, Valvoline seems to always put together some fresh-looking paints. They just got a good logo, I feel like. So that 49 looks very sharp. As well as the 56, like you mentioned there, Nick Trader. The vote coming from Drew Trader. So maybe some relation there, but that 56 does look very sharp. 1 mind, 2 design. They put together some great work as well, so they couldn't go wrong choosing either one of the paint scheme providers we're working with here in this series. But that 56 looks very, very sharp as he works through turn 3 and 4. Right now, speaking of Nicholas Trader, he's running 20th, kind of in that second pack. He's right there around the Samson cars, taking it easy and kind of waiting and playing out the patience game so far. But a lot of different paint schemes to choose from, so make sure you're letting us know down in chat who's your favorite. As we got a little bit more moving and shaking up front. For the first time tonight, the 54, Chris Seidefeiden, has finally kind of worked into a chance to take over the top spot as he's pushing the second car on the top lane, which is Ricky Springer at the moment. So listening in on some of the radio chatter, just these drivers trying to figure out what their game plan is. Are they trying to survive these first 100 laps or so, or how hard are they going to be planning on racing? So a lot of different strategies getting talked amongst some of the drivers right now. We're already working lap number 14 of our 110 lap event. These laps are ticking off pretty quickly. A lot of these guys working together and just trying to survive and make it to the end with a clean race car. How about the 99 there, Dean Prince, running the DeWalt colors? We haven't seen too much of Dean tonight. Yeah, real swervy down there.
He started talking about him, and he's like, whoa, I'm on camera.
I think a lot of these guys, you see, once they get, a lot of draft, they get real close to the guy in front of them. They just seem to be not very stable on the bottom side of the racetrack specifically. I've heard that throughout practice, listening in on some of the drivers' conversations. These cars are getting really, really wicked loose once they get behind somebody with a lot of speed built up, and I think the draft is kind of throwing these guys a handful as they're working through the high banks of Daytona. But for the first time, Harold, we're seeing that things are kind of settled out up front. Single file, Ricky Springer and the number 51 showing the way. We don't have our first side-by-side battle till you get to 5th place between Chris Seidefeiden and Andrew Player in the 13. Other than that, most of the field's single file right now.
Spreading it out is the theme right now. As we're looking from the blimp views, you can start to see the front cars all spreading out a little bit, and I think it's kind of a good thing, because that means they're being patient. There's an old saying that to finish first, you first must finish.
There you go. I like it. I mean, it really comes to fruition here at these plate tracks that you do got to have a clean car at the end, or else your chances to win are kind of out the window. We did see last night a few Northern Capital trucks get up there and towards the front of the field with some damage, but ultimately it was the cleanest trucks.
Whoa, big shove from the 54 from the 48.
Yeah.
A good driving, keeping it together, and we saw that last night too. Guys getting out of line, but the front drivers were able to handle it, and it's usually something further back, a checkup that usually caused our cautions to come out last night.
And that was the 48 of Curtis Vollmer giving a shot to one of his Samson teammates, the 54 Chris Seidefeiden. Great save there by the 54, but it almost was a recipe for disaster. How about Russell LePage? Oh, make that Matthew Highmore now posting the fastest lap time you see on the top right of your screen. I was kind of curious if a lot of these guys were pushing, and you see those lap times get put up at such a quicker pace when these guys are behind such a big pack like that, and they just go full out for one lap and use that draft to catch up. Do you see it? A little bit of a stack up there on the inside. It's actually going to give a great run to the top. Chris Seidefeiden with a great push to Andrew
up
Player.
To the front, yeah.
Yeah.
But the 48, that closing speed, I don't think they even realized how fast they were sucking up to the car in front of them.
We just had the 99 there. Dean Prince actually pulled down onto the racetrack. Thought he was coming to pit road for a moment.
Player to the lead.
wow. If you want to get a replay there, Harold, I think it'll surprise you on the number 99 of Dean Prince coming out of turn 4 there. I thought he was coming down to pit road, but that is far from what happened. As we take a look at our One to Go Studios replay, watch the number 99 here. You see the black and yellow DeWalt car as he's working through turn 4. It wasn't a failed pit entry. He actually got sideways off of turn number 4 all by himself. It's one of the first times I've seen that here at these plate tracks. That kind of shows you how much of a loop the air is throwing these guys. So he's coming here off of turn 4 on the bottom.
He caught the apron. He caught the inside of that yellow line. It's not your friend here. Not at all. So let's get back to live racing. But yeah, you've got to stay off of the yellow line here at Daytona. It is very slick in the corners.
And look at where it's put him. It's put him in that huge single file line, that second pack now, probably ranging 20 or close to 20 cars at the moment. A ton of these guys single file and just kind of biding their time. The only real racing action you see that's side by side up front for the lead at the moment. Andrew Player now has moved to the bottom side of the racetrack with Chris Seidefeiden and Curtis Vollmer giving him a shot up top, trying to make the outside work. And looks like we got another guy joining them for the first time here in this front pack. It's going to be the number 22 of Eric Shugart on the top side of the racetrack. He's making his way towards the front, and he's going to join Curtis and Chris on the outside lane. Other than that, though, it's been relatively calm so far as we ride on board here with Alan Elwood, and you see exactly what he's seeing right now through his cockpit view. I think one of my favorite parts of Elwood is the Buckeyes helmet for Ohio State. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, okay. We won't talk about that unless we talk about Big Blue. Somebody needs to make a Big Blue helmet.
There you go. I'm sure we got a lot of different college football fans. We saw last night one of the Truck Series drivers, Nicholas Halda, with a Patrick Mahomes jersey wearing pit crew. It's the first I've seen that. We actually got pit stops coming up out of nowhere. That's catching me off guard a little bit. Number 48 of Curtis Vollmer's coming down, as well as the 54 of Chris Seidefeiden. They're not alone. The Nicholas Trader machine in the 56. The 2 of David Weishart, the 5 of Garrett Grant, the 64 of Ed Robertson, and the 83 of James Shanewolf. So we got a common theme here between 6 out of these 7 guys that are pitting. They all drive for Samson Motorsports that are associated with them in some form or fashion. So looks like the Samson boys decided to bring it down pit road. Yep.
Working together. Well, that'll definitely put you off cycle and keep you away from the big one.
Well, this is something we've seen a lot from Samson in the past. They're almost always the first group onto pit road. We even saw it in some of our test races we've done here at Daytona leading up to the season opener. You see the Samson guys like to pit together and pit early, and then they'll get in a single file line and just make up so much time on the rest of the field. It's almost hard to, catch up to them or try to even beat them. So we'll have to see how that strategy plays out for them tonight. But already a little bit of strategy moves being made by the team in Big Blue, Samson Motorsports.
Yeah, they said the Ohio State Buckeyes, definitely not a fan. But my team, Michigan, is actually undefeated thus far, so the Big Ten hopefully will shake it up this year. So, oh wow, going around that lap car. That was a big problem last night. Lap traffic was causing some bunch ups. Tried to go 4 wide around late with a lap car, caused a big pile up at the straight in the trioval last night.
Wow. So a couple of updates. You look at the 83 real quick of James Shanewolf, one of those guys who pitted on the last pit stop with his teammates of Samson Motorsports. He's got a drive-through penalty, or he's coming down pit road for some reason. I'm assuming he had a speeding penalty there. So that's going to be very, very costly for the number 83. And then you saw the 64 of Ed Robertson getting lapped. He actually slid through his pit box, and he lost the rest of his Samson teammates as well. So a couple of costly mistakes there for the 64 of Ed Robertson and the 83 of James Shanewolf now, as he's still sitting on pit road for the moment. So we'll have to check back in and update on that. But up front, Andrew Player, Rafe Slate, and now the 69 of Reed Wilson. We're seeing him creep into the picture for the first time tonight up front. And we got some more pit stops. This time it's the VRA gang.
Chain gang.
Yeah, we got the 15 of Cameron Hearn, the 49 of Alan Elwood, the 38 of Shane Theron, and then the number 19 of Rick Christensen, who's not with Samson, or excuse me, not with VRA officially, but I think some kind of alliance was made and he decided to hop in with their strategy. See all three of the VRA cars pitted up front right now. Oh,
missed
like the 38.
box.
Yep. The 38 is Shane Thurin. That could prove to be costly. We already saw the effect it had on the 64 of Ed Robertson as he ended up losing the draft and ultimately falling a lap down. Looks like he's going to make up okay. Now we'll have to see who's the next group of guys to come down pit road. We've seen Sampson was the first, then we saw VRA. Now we're waiting to see when Go Slow Racing and the rest of this lead pack decides to bring their machines down pit road for fuel.
Yeah, keep an eye on them tonight.
They're going to be coming here through turn 1 and 2. Andrew Player continuing to show the way in the number 13 car. Other than that, some familiar faces up front for the most part.
Definitely the same group of guys up here. The DeWalt's back on the high side, so he was able to get himself back up. Saw the last night with Wilson able to go. He was spun out low and was able to get back to the front of the racetrack as well. So some of these guys knowing how to come out of the groove and get back up onto the racetrack without any damage, which is a good thing.
I noticed our front pack got a lot bigger since these pit stops began. A lot of people started working together and trying to make up that time because, like I mentioned, that big group of Sampson cars that pitted, that can easily be a race-winning strategy just by getting off sequence and then really pushing hard together as a team. That kind of will buy them a lot of racing, a lot of time on the racetrack, and ultimately could result in a big lead. But we'll have to see. We won't know officially until the rest of the field decides to come down pit road, and probably got another 5 or 6 laps before we finally see all of these drivers coming down and pitting. But ultimately, Harold, pretty impressed with these guys so far tonight. 26 laps to start the season, and we're still under green, and we've already had our first couple guys come in, so I believe we're going to see some green flag pit stops, which is 3 nights in a row now. We've had green flag pit stops at none other than Daytona. Not an easy track to do it at.
Well, as we talked about, it's an inaugural season for a brand new league, so some of these drivers have raced with one another, but a lot of these guys are new, so learning who to trust, who not to trust, who you work well with, who you don't. Kind of reminds me of it was at NASCAR Thunder, where you have the allies and the rivalries of how you race. You're starting to develop those, but you really don't know until you get in there. And Daytona being a heck of a race to learn what other drivers are doing. So, and they're doing a really good job out here tonight, showing their abilities to keep that thing pointed in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like you said, new league from top to bottom. Everything about us is new or was made in the last few months. And obviously, we just want to give a huge shout out to all 4 of our series sponsors, starting with the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series, and Swift Lifestyles, of course, presented by McConey Setup Shop. Northern Capital in our truck series, we want to give a huge shout out to Russ Anderson and Steve Anderson. We appreciate your guys' support of the Northern Capital truck series and all of us here at ARIA. Our Xfinity series tonight, of course, brought to us by Lodgebox. The Lodgebox series is what we're officially calling it. So a huge shout out to Lodgebox Developments down there in South Florida for all your construction needs. And then tomorrow night, our Sim Speed Shop Cup series, and Jason and all those guys have been a huge help for all of us. So we really appreciate all the sponsors we got here, and these drivers are doing their part and putting on a great show each and every night so far.
Yeah, first pack here is pretty much single file except for the 2 running that high side as we're looking from the Goodyear blimp down onto the raceway.
Yeah, and you got to anticipate pit stops coming up soon here. We're working lap 29, about to be lap 30. That was kind of the window we were given earlier, and also the window we've been seeing the last 2 nights with the 75% fuel in these cars. So I would assume no later than lap 31, everybody should have to come down pit road at least for fuel. But we saw those guys earlier in that second pack, very far off, saving fuel. How much did they save? I guess we'll find out here once everybody decides to come down pit road.
Yeah, I'm looking at, from strategy point, 30, 30, 30, and 20. If you're going to look at green flag pitting, you got to back, as the commentators in Fox will say, they got to backward plan your fuel strategy.
I think that's exactly what we saw with Sampson, right? They pitted right around lap 20, and maybe they're planning on doing 30 lap runs now from the finish. Everybody else, like you mentioned, though, probably going to go with that 30, 30, 30, 20 strategy. Regardless, everybody's going to have to make 3 pit stops this race for fuel. That's kind of what they're going to have to do as far as the fuel strategy goes. Tires, not a huge deal here at Daytona, but coincidentally enough, they do have 3 sets of tires in the pit, so they could take 4 tires if they wish each pit stop. But I believe we're about to see some people coming down the pit road because we're getting the radio getting real busy, and here they all come. Andrew Player. Oh, we got contact in the back. The 22 of Eric Shugart into the inside wall.
Player sliding around.
Saw the 22 of Eric Shugart towards the back of the pack. It looks like he got into the left rear of Matthew Highmore, I believe. They were able to save it, however, cost them a lot of time. Harold documented Andrew Player in the 13 really sideways getting onto pit road. All these guys pulling into their box. Now you see the 51 of Ricky Springer, the 8 of Rafe Slate, the number 3 of Kevin Hayes, and then we'll have to see where they decide to come back out and how they'll cycle with the rest of the guys who pitted earlier on in the night. And right there, you're looking at them. That's the number 6. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, this is the guys who have still yet to pit, and that includes the 6 of Michael Larch, the 28 of Chris Bouchard, and here they come now.
28, one heck of a pit stop all the way around that line. Ooh, wonder if he was going a little bit fast.
Yes. Yeah, the 34 there, Dean Gagliano, he looked like he came in real hot. Oh, we got contact on pit road again, the 34.
Oh, 34, the 35, ow.
It was the 36 of Russell LePage was pulling into his pit box, and on the left side of his car was the 34 of Dean Gagliano, and that sent him right around and sent him sideways in his box, which is, of course, not what he wanted to do. But
it's like Seiden Faden in the 54 here is currently the leader after pit stops go through. We'll see how it goes on. After the 28, so Seiden Faden taking the lead right now, coming out of the green flag pit stops.
And Harold, look at the gap this group has up front of Chris Seiden, David Weishart, Garrett Grant. The whole Samson group that pitted on lap 20 are almost 6 seconds now ahead of that second pack. It's actually going to be 7 seconds, with the leader of the second pack is going to be that number 38, I believe, of Shane Thyron. And there you see them now. They're just now working turn 3. So that's a huge gap. Samson able to make up that almost 6.5 seconds on the rest of the field just by pitting about 10 laps earlier and getting formed up quicker than the rest of these guys.
Almost an entire straightaway ahead.
Yeah.
They're Seiden Faden, and then back to the 38. You know, they were in turn 1 before they got to the stripe.
And 34, Dean Gagliano, we just now see him coming back out of pit road. I believe it was a pit road penalty, which we kind of documented there. We believed he was speeding. He was coming in very, very hot. And we just now kind of see him getting back out onto the track. Up front, though, Chris Seiden, and now the 2 of David Weishart's actually going to pull high and drop to the tail end of this single file line. But only 6 cars in this lead pack now. One of them actually being the 83 of James Shainwolf, who's 2 laps down. So he had a pit road penalty as well under his green flag stop. Riding on board now here inside the cockpit of the number 2 of David Weishart.
And he is chit-chatting heavy. As you see him talking on that boom mic as he's driving behind the 48. So a lot of strategy being talked about probably between him and the crew chief. Gotta give him a smoke too. I don't know if they're allowed to do that on the racetrack. I'll talk to him about that. No vaping.
There you go. We do not condone vaping. But David Weishart, everybody's got their own thing they like to do here when it comes to iRacing. So I guess we'll see the in-car cam of David Weishart now as they're working around lap traffic. Once again, it's the number 1 of Matthew Highmore there. He's going to be holding the bottom side of the track. It's kind of going to split up the pack a little bit. These guys are going to have to get formed back up. But Highmore going 1 lap down. At the moment, he sits in the lucky dog position.
7 seconds break between the top 5 drivers. Back to Cameron Hearn now, leading that second pack.
Yeah, and we don't really see a lot of time being made up right now either for that second pack. So they got a long way to go if they want to catch back up to the front 5. The problem right now I'm seeing with them is that there's only 4 of them in this pack, and it's Cameron Hearn, Alan Elwood, the number 38 of Shane Thyron, and then the 19 of Rick Christensen. they're outnumbered pretty bad right now, 7-4. So it's going to be hard to make up that time, but obviously a caution could change everything. And that's not too far, or not unimaginable here to see a yellow flag at Daytona at any moment. So we'll be making sure to watch and follow along as we work lap number 36 out of 110 here at Daytona. More moving and shaking up front. Chris Sidified in now is going to go to the back of the pack.
Or they're working the strategy because you know the guy in the front burns the most fuel, so they could be shaking it up amongst themselves to prevent one guy running, a lap or two down on fuel by basically sharing the lead. Also getting that bonus point, I believe, for just leading one lap, correct?
Yeah, 1 bonus point for leading a lap, and then an additional bonus point to whoever leads the most laps. So that is a great point. I didn't even think about that. They might just be sharing the lead, getting everybody a bonus point. I wonder how they decide who's the one who gets to run up front and get the most laps led, though.
You worry about that after everybody gets a lap, then you start talking about it at that point. Like whoever's the best one getting pushed, I guess, is what I would think. Who can keep the train moving the fastest? Yeah.
Right now, it's the 48 of Curtis Vollmer leading the way. Well, actually, it's James Shainliff, like you mentioned. And I think that might be a strategy play there because he is 2 laps down. So if they put him back out front as the leader of their line, it'll put him down to 1 lap down. Oh, maybe not. Well, yeah, there we go. We see the 48 now. Vollmer dropping to the back. It's going to cycle the 2 to David Weishart to the front.
Yeah, so they're kind of just working it. And it's kind of good working with Shainliff because Shainliff, being a couple laps down, is not going to gain any positions or lose any real positions by burning up the fuel, but he's pulling this train around and he's consuming the most fuel.
Exactly. And if the caution does come out, instead of him being trapped 2 laps down, then he will only be 1 lap down, and that's a big difference here at Daytona to be back down to 1 instead of 2. So let's keep an eye on that and see how they decide to work their strategy as we're coming to lap number 39 of 110. So still plenty of time left here in tonight's race to make some differences if you're one of those guys in the second pack.
Our second pack is 6 seconds behind now.
Yeah, making some hay. I was about to mention that. It's the 13 Andrew Player got out front. And these guys were single file. Now they're double wide, but they were single file for a moment, and they were starting to catch that front pack slightly.
Andrew Player is a lap down in that group. I guess he might have got a speeding penalty or something.
Oh, we got a caution flag out on the racetrack.
Cameron Hearn, it looks like, is involved. Let's check it out.
Just as that second pack was starting to make some hay and catch up, we get a caution flag there. With the number 15 and the number 49, it looks like. Kind of caught the tail end of it there, and we'll have to see exactly what transpired. I see the 49 still going slow down the back straightaway.
In the back, the 49 and 15 in the back of the 49. That's that closing speed again. Trying to get a better view from another camera. There we go.
Looked like the 49 there thought possibly maybe the 38 was coming down in line and might have checked up. Hearn got into the back of him, and then the 15 went around there. But if you take a look at the 49 of Alan Elwood, he made it by. Hearn just went for a slide. 49 of Alan Elwood just stopped on the back straightaway. He kind of coasted right here. You seeing it on your box or on the replay feed. And then he came to a stop and actually towed the race car back to pit road. So it's going to cost him laps and laps of on the field there. So I'm not exactly sure what went on there with the 49 Elwood, but I mean, he coasted all the way down into the road course here.
Not sure. We're going to go back to live. There he is.
You
on.
see him. No.
Well, that brings out our first caution.
Yeah, and here comes the rest of these guys.
But now it puts Shainliff in a good position, as you said. Now he's only a lap down, and he can compete for the lucky dog for the next one.
Hearing from the spotter, Eric Wineland, as you see these guys coming down pit road, 49 lost the motor going into turn 1, and that's kind of why we saw him coasting to a stop. So no engine there on the 49, must have blew up. I don't know if that's what caused that. Potentially, Harold, we saw how hard they were pushing. might have blown up from staying tucked in line behind the 38 too long, got the engine temps too hot, cooked the motor, blew up right in front of the 15 of Cameron Hearn, and that's what triggered the caution. So interesting change of events there. It's going to bring out our first caution of the season here in the Lodgebox series as
we're looking at Twitch there. And Dry Dirt guy that putting themes in colors would, even even NASCAR doesn't do that in the scoring tickers. The most that they do is the manufacturers, but we can maybe come up with an overlay of some sort to, that pulls out the, where it says gap there. I could put the teams from time to time, but that's something a little bit harder to track in the way the iRacing system has it. But we can definitely try to do that. Sim Racing Realtor just gave us a follow on Twitch.
yeah, just kind of working with the admins here, so that's the reason I'm kind of stepped away for a second.
Worry. Getting awful quiet. Did somebody leave? I was thinking you might have went and got a soda or something and even asked me.
No. There's a lot going on the radio because of all that transpired there with the caution. We're still kind of working through it with the admin for tonight, Ryan Swan. Want to give him a big shout out.
Lost a motor. That was definitely interesting, and that could also what's caused Cameron is if he dropped the piston, would have slowed him down, and then Cameron would not have expected him to catch up that quick because he's off power. Number 6 of Larch, Michael Larch in the lead with Lemke in at 35. We were noticing last night, Lemke needs some sponsor love on that car. Almost pure orange. He's got her contingency stickers on there and the Lodgebox on the windshield. With the Toyota Supra, other than that, just orange and black. Looks like a standard iRacing paint scheme. So, looking for a place to put some sponsorship, you might want to reach out to Justin Lemke and get him some love on that car.
Yeah, another one of those cars, the 54, Chris Sidefied, and we've seen him run really, really well tonight. It's actually sitting just outside the top 10 now, but he's another one of those guys with a blank paint scheme with a lot of room for logos, but of course races with Samson Motorsports, so I'm sure they're working up something as they got some spectacular schemes out there for this season. But here we go. We just got a one to go with the pace car, so we're actually going to be restarting now up front at the front of the field. Pace car. It's going to make the left-hand turn onto pit road. Michael Larch and Justin Lemke leading us to green.
Well, as we were talking a little bit, looking at the Twitch, and they're asking about teams and any way to identify them. We'll maybe try to figure out something we can do, but like I said, the challenge is what racing provides us. Then teams are not assigned in iRacing, so that's something we do outside. So
the people dropping to the back right now. Everybody pulled down under the apron coming out of turn 2. Up front, Reed Wilson takes over the top spot, and now Ricky Springer with a push from James Shanewolf in the 83. James Shanewolf right now still 1 lap down, however, instead of 2 laps down, so I guess in some sense he's doing a little bit better, but he's going to have to get back up front and either earn his lap back the hard way or hope for a free pass. If the caution comes down, he's the first car 1 lap down.
I said he went from being 2 laps down to being the lucky dog position. It doesn't look like the car has any issues, so he's doing pretty good as that goes with the number 83 of James Shanewolf. It's not a power problem, so he must, like you said, I believe he had to come down to pits twice because of speeding or some other black flag.
Yeah, I think they held him in his pit box for the speeding penalty. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but he did come down pit road an additional time, like you said there. So interesting that he was able to get back up front in front of the lead pack, so go from 2 down to 1 down, and now he's in the free pass position, as you just mentioned, as these cars are storming through turns 3 and 4. For the first time tonight, we see Reed Wilson with full control of the field as we work lap number 45 now here at Daytona. Coming to 56 laps to go, and yeah, working single file now as Ricky Springer in the 51, the only truck on the outside lane. Looks like his teammate Rafe Slayton, the number 8, is going to come up to help.
You know, with the headache award, something I had from behind Lord, and I don't know how they set up here though, but we used to call it the "You Could Use a Vacation" award, because Alan Elwood in the number 49 with the blown motor being the first car off the track tonight. That'll be sponsored by Lottie'sTravelWorld.com. And check it out, Alan. You can get a vacation over there at Lottie'sTravelWorld.com.
And another important note, well, two important notes, is one, that has a huge effect already on the team championship side of things for VRA, but second, he's still sitting in the pit box. He has not gave up on this thing yet. He'll wait out, he'll get the new motor, and I think we'll see Alan Elwood get back out there in about 30 more minutes or so. So he's not giving up on tonight yet, but obviously going to be a huge blow, finishing well outside the top 20, all things considered, once we get finished here. But up front, it's still a battle between Reed Wilson and now the Rafe Slate machine is working the top side of the racetrack. Other than that, everybody's on the bottom until you get right outside the top 10. You see another 2 guys working the top side of the track, but a lot of these guys still playing it patient, way too early, not even working halfway yet, and waiting until it's really, really down to the crunch time before these guys probably make their moves and race for the money. But I think, Harold, we got to watch. We saw the strategy play by Sampson under the first green flag stop.
Oh, yeah.
Do a lot of these guys, with the reset of the caution, you know, do they try to stick with Sampson now? Do they pit with them? Do they not let them get that strategy in again? I think we'll have to see if those guys were paying attention or if they decide they want to stay out another 10 laps. But we saw how much of a gap they were able to build by just pitting 10 laps earlier.
And pitting in early. Now, Matthew Highmore has disconnected because of packet loss, so he may be having some computer issues as the number 1 car, who's currently slotted in the 23rd position. As you said, Alan Elwood would be about a 30-minute is to change motors in these cars, so if he is staying in the car can be repaired with a new engine, but it does take about 30 minutes to do so.
You know, one thing I'm looking at right now, if you look through the entire field, they're all in this lead back. We got no stragglers, no people hanging out by themselves or lost the draft. So still 23 cars, I believe. If you count the number 99 and Dean Prince, I believe he's tagged in the pack still. He is 5 laps down at the moment, but he is on the racetrack. Matthew Highmore and Alan Elwood are only 2 people in the garage for the moment. We'll see if that changes the later on we get. And we see a nice charge on the outside lane. Rafe Slate once again getting the shot by Ricky Springer, who pulls high. For a moment, I thought he might have hit him there in the right rear going into turn 3 and 4, but we are still racing for that top spot. It hasn't been easy for Reed Wilson to fend off those 2 guards on the high side.
And you were talking about earlier that we talked about the 49 having an engine problem. Don't normally see that with the fixed setups, the official fixed setups from iRacing that you guys are using in this league. So I wonder how much if the oil temperature spiked or something. I'm not sure, but usually the fixed setups are definitely, they don't have enough tape on the grill to begin with. But
right, yeah, I think what had happened is he was just pushing that number 38 for too long, and he kind of cooked the motor there by getting the temps too high and not pulling out of line and getting some air into the opening there. So I think he was pushing way too hard and didn't get out of line in time, and the engine just popped on him. And unfortunate for him, got some damage there. But there you see another move now being made to the outside. It's the 6 of Michael Arch this time. It seems like no matter what, Reed Wilson up front just cannot seem to be the leader of a single file line. He seems to constantly be under attack by somebody. This time he's by himself, and as I say that, now James Shanewolf's going to jump up top with him. Again, the 83 of James Shanewolf, that second car on the outside lane. He is a lap down for the moment, so he's not technically racing for position right now, but he is racing for the free pass.
Definitely trying to take care of it.
And he's actually pushed the 6 of Michael Larch all the way to the lead, who is clear, and now he drops down to the bottom side of the track. So Larch says, I appreciate the push, James, but you're on your own, and he leaves James up high and by himself. And it doesn't take long before Reed Wilson down the 69 jumps up high. So a lot of moving and shaking up front.
Yeah, we were talking about spotters. We have 5 spotters in.
There we go. pit stops again. Sorry to cut you off there, but the Sampson boys came right back down again on their own. The 54 of Chris Seidefeiden is in. The number 2 of David Weishart is in. All these guys coming down once again together. Garrett Grant, Ed Robertson in the number 64, the 56 of Nicholas Trader, and then the 48 of Curtis Vollmer. Looks like it's just a quick gas and go.
Look at that. They all get in and get out together, and that's the important thing, that they all get in and get out together. So we'll keep an eye on the 54 and the rest of the crew.
And there you see the number 49 still of Alan Elwood sitting on pit road waiting for the engine to be replaced in that machine, so he'll be out for a little bit. But yeah, great point there. They were able to make it in and out together. We didn't see that the first time by. We saw one slide through his box, another one with a speeding penalty, this time and much smoother for that Sampson bunch. But also another important note, there's only about 5 of them this time, so they lost two people that they had, because initially it was a 7-car group, now it's down to 5. So we'll have to see again though, does that strategy work out for them and they build all that time back up on the rest of the field?
I think it would help. It probably won't be as good this time, because last time the leaders were going 2 by 2, which slows down the cars. There are single file in the front, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But they're not going to get as much of an advantage as they did last time. So with that said, they were 7 seconds the advantage last time, so not as much advantage. Could be like 3 seconds, which is still a huge lead over the rest of the group.
Absolutely. And actually, if you go back and look at them real quick, they're not even put together quite yet. They're still trying to form up. The 64 of Ed Robertson is that 4th car you see there on your screen now. He's a good distance behind the top 3. And then behind Ed Robertson is actually the 56 and the 48. Those 2 drivers are another good distance behind him. So still not completely formed up for those Sampson bunch of drivers, and that kind of leaves just those front 4 together. I think Curtis now is kind of pushed. Yeah, I kind of think they might have checked up for each other and tried to get the pack back together. So there we go. We're going to have six of those Sampson drivers, from Chris Seidefeiden back to Curtis Vollmer. Those 6 are going to work together and try to gain as much time as they can on the rest of the field up front. Right now, it's Rafe Slate who leads the way.
You know, Shane Wolf got himself in a really good position, so the caution, or he can even take it by himself. Either way, puts him in a really good position to get a really good place. Even though he is a lap down, he's in a great spot to earn his way back to the front to get back into competition, as he's on the high side trying to get back onto the lead lap by himself.
And his only real competition is the number 22 of Eric Shugart and the 34 of Dean Gagliano. Those are the only other 2 cars that are 1 lap down. And for the moment, those 2 are towards the back of that pack, still riding single file. So it's pretty much up to James Shanewolf right now. But if you're somebody in the Eric Shugart's position where you're the 2nd car lap down, you want Shanewolf to go up there and take the lead like he has, because technically Shanewolf is back on the lead lap now. So if a caution did fly, instead of him getting the free pass, it would go to the 22 of Eric Shugart as the 1st car 1 lap down. So a lot of different things can happen here as we just reached the halfway point, lap 55 of 110 for the season opener here in the Lodgebox series.
Looking at Rafe Slate leading the way in the number 8 car. He's been up there most of the night. As the outside is Michael Larch in that number 6 track racer machine. And behind them is Reed Wilson and Ricky Springer down in that 51 ride. Going back to the number 28 of Christopher Bichard and that number 28. Kind of like that metallic purple pink color, and look at the lights just dancing all over there. Autism awareness, awesome. Being a special needs pastor, always look out for the autism awareness people with our daughter Angel on the spectrum. So that's cool to see from Christopher on that car.
Absolutely.
And there's a number 3 of Kevin Haas and the Goodrich man. Gonna throw it back to Dale Sr.
Yeah, and I mean that's about as exact as you can get to it. How about Cameron Hearn? The 15, we saw him involved in the first caution there with the 49 of Alan Elwood's engine letting go, but Hearn's been able to work his way back up to the pack, and he's got his teammate right behind him there on the outside of him, actually. It's the 38 of Shane Thier, and that car looks great. I like the look of that paint scheme as well, with the white and the red and silver lettering going down the side there. Looks very, very sharp as he tucks in line. And then you got the 35 of Justin Lemke in the orange and black car, like you kind of were mentioning there earlier, Harold. There's a lot of real estate on this car. I think that might be for sale. So if you guys are interested in sponsoring one of our drivers, would not hesitate to reach out to Justin Lemke. He's a great driver and also really good dude as well. And rounding out our top 10, another great dude we got here in area, Rick Christensen in the 19, running inside the top 10, rounding out our full field rundown here as we're going to go back up front to the number 8. Rafe Slate, as things kind of are settling out for the most part towards the back half of the top 10, but he continues to lead on the inside. You see the 83 of James Shanewolf. He is a lap down, as we've well documented. Want to remind all of our fans and all of our people watching here on Twitch that fans can visit our sponsor, Swift Lifestyles, over in the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series. Clean supplements that help improve your focus and gaming. Use discount code Area iRacing. Again, that's discount code Area iRacing, AREA iRacing, for 15% off your entire order. We would like to thank Swift Lifestyles for their support of the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series. And Harold, I think you saw something that made you go, ooh.
Yeah, I see the Rafe and Springer got really close to each other. Some side drafting going on. I think some paint got swapped between the two of them.
Yeah. We've seen it all night long. A lot of it's always the second car, it seems, that's pushing on the bottom. Is just really, really squirrely. Looks like these cars are giving these drivers a handful tonight.
We were talking about that yesterday. The physics in iRacing allow the side drafting to work just like the real cars on the racetrack. They spend an enormous amount of money to laser spec these cars and the racing surfaces we are on. That's why the iRacing subscription service is always growing and was used by NASCAR during the COVID pandemic that stopped real life racing for a while last year. Or earlier this year, actually. Sorry.
And I think we're starting to hear through the radio I've been listening to, a lot of these drivers are considering short pitting to try to kind of even that gap that we mentioned earlier. I love this shot going through the tri-oval. I think it looks great. You can really see everybody's paint schemes, and it's a moving shot, it looks like, with all these drivers coming by full speed as they head down into turn 1. But yeah, I think we're listening in on some of these guys talking about, their pit strategy. They said, let's do this thing together and let's get in the pit road earlier than we did last time. We're working 50 laps to go here. We got 2 pit stops left for these drivers, so you gotta want to probably split them up, I'd assume, if you pit here and then pit in another 25 laps till the end of the race. We'll have 25 to go then as well, so we'll have to pay attention. I think these drivers might be coming down pit road any moment here.
See our digger cam there showing the cars. They rock the camera as they drive on by. And across that stripe here.
I was gonna mention the lights are completely on, and it is completely dark here at our virtual Daytona racetrack right now. It's completely into darkness now. There is no sun peeking through at all, and obviously our track, I'm sure, has dropped in our track temperature. I think we got something that could show us our track facts here tonight.
Right now we're mostly cloudy, 77 and 79 on the track. Winds are coming out of the northeast, 13 miles an hour, and relative humidity 42%. So nice cool night in Florida.
Yeah, and we're seeing it now with the track temp you mentioned down to 79. So a lot cooler temperatures than we saw earlier on. I'm still trying to listen. I hear a lot of talk on the radio about pitting, but I haven't seen much action yet from that front pack here.
Guys are doing a great job keeping it clean. I mean, that you can't ask for much more. I mean, you being the lead man for the ARIA iRacing, you got to be pretty stoked about the first 3 races we've had, with all the good racing throughout the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been more than impressed. I don't even know what the right word would be. Obviously, last night with a full field in the Northern Capital Truck Series at Daytona, we expected a chaotic race, and we got a little bit of it, but honestly, they did a great job running, for the most part, clean throughout the entire event. We had 6 cautions on Monday night. We had 6 cautions last night, and tonight we've only had 1 yellow so far that has slowed us down, but the racing outside of that has been absolutely phenomenal, and I just cannot wait for tomorrow's Area 500 presented by Miller Racing Graphics. And huge shout out to all the drivers here who have been racing with us in this league. It's obviously none of this is possible without them and without the teams and all the sponsors that have helped us out. So huge shout out to everybody watching as well, all of the fans and people tuning in each and every night. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to the rest of this season. Is for the first time, well, as soon as I was going to say for the first time, we've seen completely single file. They all jump back out.
You know, car starts to heat up and let's jump up. Yeah, maybe people are starting to come down now.
Yeah, the 8, you're on him right now. He just said he's going to be coming in. The 51 of Ricky Springer right behind him as well is coming in. There you see the 28 of Chris Bouchard and the 13 of Andrew Player. Only 4 cars on pit road. That's not as many as we saw with the Sampson bunch, so we'll have to see how the push and the draft works out with those guys. But all 4 of them did a pretty good job getting on the pit road. Now it's about getting into their box cleanly.
Chris Bouchard really shallow and got on the inside line. This is a pretty good darn job by him of maintaining that area, because it's tough coming down there, and you do got to work with the guys. Usually when we say we're pitting, and you'll hear the front 2 guys go, I'm going inside, you take the outside to kind of stagger their way in. And so that 28 was really shallow coming through.
And now you see for the first time tonight, the 38 of Shane Theron's taking over the top spot with the 15 of Cameron Hearn pushing him. Have not seen the VRA boys up front yet, and there's a little bit of contact right behind them with the 6 of Michael Larch, and the 83 of James Shainwolf got really hairy there for a moment. Working down towards turn 1 and 2. 45 laps to go when they hit the stripe here at Daytona. A lot of racing left. It is not over yet.
There's Shane Theron.
You see right in front of these drivers is the 13 of Andrew Player. He's kind of lost the draft of his teammates Rafe Slate and Ricky Springer. Looks like they might be trying to slow down and get the those 3 cars together for the moment, but not able to do it here. But there you see riding on board the number 2 of David Weishart again. You see he's kind of moving up to the top. This is the second pack that we saw with Sampson that pitted way early in the run.
Yeah, I think he actually is the car that's now dropping to the back, because he was right up underneath the leader of this group just a second ago when I went to switch cameras. So he may be the car that's just, you know, now it's time for him to just fall back and ride now for a little while. Nice little group here with the number 2. The 6 cars here towards the back. 31 seconds, so they're half a lap behind the race leaders right now.
Yeah, I apologize for the silence. I'm listening in. There's like a huge debate going on over the front pack right now on what they need to do to get their chances to win. Some drivers are saying, you know, hey, we need to all get in line here and start pushing each other, or else that Sampson group's going to have a huge lead when the things cycle through. And then the others are saying, hey, no, we're here to race. We're not working together. So a little bit of a debate going on between this pack, you know, with the 38 of Shane Theron, the 15 of Cameron Hearn as they're lapping the 34 there, Dean Gagliano up top.
Gagliano down 3 laps now. The longest stints now belong to Shane Wolf and Shugart with 27 laps. Another group, basically the front guys, Haas, Wilson, Lemke, LePage in that group, as well as Larch.
It's interesting. These guys have caught the back end of Rafe Slate, Andrew Player, and the 51 of Springer. Now they're actually moving around. Working around another lap car. It's a 28 of Chris Bouchard.
Who just pitted, actually. Bouchard has pitted with another group, so Bouchard is on 3 laps on this stint. So they're going to have to come down, and then they'll put him back up on the lead lap. So he just kind of tucking in and he's going to take it where he can.
It is absolutely crazy to look at the gap, the Sampson group that pitted early in this run over the group that just pitted, you know, in the last 5 laps or so. Instead of 7 seconds, it's now 17 seconds, the gap they have formed. So They've done a tremendous job getting on and off pit road. Right now, you see them being led by Chris Sidefied in the number 54. He's actually 9th on the board, and they're all the way down from 9th to 14th is that Samson pack. So the gap between 14th and 15th there, which is Trader and Springer on the left side of your screen, that's the gap between Samson and the other cars on the same strategy as them. So it's about totals out to about 18 seconds now, which means they're going to have a tremendous lead once this whole thing cycles through.
Still, everybody still has to make one more stop with
And a lot of these guys, yeah, the top eight still need to make 2 more stops.
2
So
stops,
we're still
yeah.
expecting on that. So still expecting to see them on pit road. And when that'll come, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's got to be very soon here. They're working on their 22nd lap of this run, so they could go about 8 more laps if they had to, but we'll see when they decide to pit. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm looking at the old score in here.
Yeah, 29 laps on their stint right now, so they need to be coming pretty soon.
Yep, you got it. You're right on with that. Yeah. I think this lap or next, I don't think they can go much past 30 laps on the fuel, so it's going to be coming very, very quick for this top 8.
They're going to try to get as close as they can. Now, if I'm in the front, guys, I'm going to take that thing down until my guys tell me I got 1 lap to go. Reason being is I want to be able to be within striking distance in case a late caution comes out, which with these guys waiting, might not have to pit again.
Yeah, as you see them now getting double file, I'm a little bit curious because, as you mentioned, we're assuming seeing them in the next lap or two. If they're double wide, it's going to be really hard to pit when there's car on your inside. And that's the 69 up top with the 83 of James Shanewood, which we documented James Shanewood's situation earlier. He is a lap down on the field right now. So his best case scenario is to be that last car on pit road to try to get that lap back in case a caution does come out.
And Shane Wolf is at 31 laps right now on his fuel. We're definitely testing the waters here. The guys up front making their bet here by trying to stretch the fuel out as best they can, hoping for a caution to come out to help their case. It won't change much though.
Oh yeah.
Because that caution with the Samson guys up in front of them, nobody's losing a lap. Got a car, Lemke jumped out there. So he blinked out of existence for a bit. 69 going back now. Reed Wilson, I believe, falling back behind Shane Wolf.
Yeah, when they get double wide like that, they lose almost a second a lap. It's very crazy how much the difference is versus when they're single file and
single
working
file
together.
now. They must be listening to you.
Well, I think we got pit stops too, like we mentioned. It's working lap 31 of the run now. There's no way they can make it too many more laps.
Haas has 32 laps. Wilson, Lemke, LePage, and Larch all 32 laps, as well as Shane Wolf. So they are definitely stretching it to the
Shane Wolf is in. 83 is in. The 69 of Reed Wilson is in as well. I'm trying to find, there was a third car, I believe, that hit pit road with those two. It's the 69.
Wilson and Larch.
And then Larch.
It's 69 and the 6. As well as Shane Wolf. The 3 cars hitting pit lane together. This group here has got to be coming down soon. They got 35 laps left, though. And they're showing that they're really close if they're able to go 32 laps.
That's a great point. Yeah, if they save a little bit of fuel, they might be able to make it off of one more stop. It depends on how much longer these guys can stay out there. If they can make a few more laps, they'll cut it close, Harold. You got a great point there. And there you see only 2 more coming down. It's the 19 of Rick Christensen, and then right behind him, the 36 of Russell LePage. So 2 more drivers on the pit road. That leaves Shane Theron, Cameron Hearn, Kevin Haas, and then Justin Lemke as our only 4 drivers who have yet to pit for their second to last pit stop. And with that, like you said, they're working lap number 32 of this stint, and we're working 35 to go. They could possibly be attempting to stretch it here on one more stop.
They might be able to do it. We do have drivers being scored with 34 laps on their current stint. So Can they be rolling the dice to go 35 laps?
They come down to pit road this time, I believe. We're hearing over the radio. The 15 of Cameron Hearn, the 38 of Shane Theron, the 3 of Kevin Hayes, and the 35 of Justin Lemke. All 4 of these drivers on the pit road now.
If they can do that, if they can repeat their last set of fuel strategy on this next green flag run, they will be there with this being their final pit stop.
And that's going to throw a big wrench into the plans of Samson Motorsports. We saw how big of a gap they were able to gain. But if they have to pit again versus these guys being able to make it to the end, that's just throws their whole strategy upside down. So it's going to get intense here when we start working towards the final laps of this one, as the rest of these drivers now are leaving pit road. It's going to cycle the lead back over to the 54 Chris Seidefeiden, and right behind him you see the 48 of Curtis Vollmer. Moving and shaking a lot. Those guys are very aggressively pushing each other. They have not, gave up on shoving somebody around the whole track.
And these guys have 25 laps, so we know they can go to about 34 to 35. So it'll be 9 or 10 laps, and they'll be coming down for their final pit stops.
As they just now hit the stripe, it's going to cycle officially the lead over to Chris Seidefeiden in the number 54 car. And you see it on your screen right now, folks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all affiliated with Samson Motorsports. And look at the gap back to 7th place Cameron Hearn. Over 21 seconds now they're working as they head down the back straightaway. It's tremendous. It's tremendous.
48 all over the back deck of the 54. It's not the place you want to touch.
Interesting note, you saw it pop up on the top right of your screen there. Rafe Slade actually just ran the fastest lap of the night so far in the 8, which is good news for everybody in that second pack, because it's a lot of them. It's the 15 of Cameron Hearn, the 38 of Kevin Hayes. We'll get you a shot here in a second. A huge single file line trying to hunt down the leaders. They're going to have to start making up some time quickly. Now the 15 actually pulls high. It's going to allow the 3 and the 35 to move to the front.
Going down the middle is Rafe and those guys. Woo! Look at that speed going by down to number 8 with the 13 of Andrew Player right behind him. These guys are on a freight train moving through.
I think they're moving high here, the 15 and the 38, for the exact reason you documented there, Harold. They're trying to get to the back of this pack and save some fuel, I believe. They're going to let these guys up front that know they can't make it, and they'll have to make another stop. They're going to let these guys take over the lead and waste all their fuel trying to catch that lead pack, but they're going to the back to save. But right now, with that move being made, as Harold mentioned, Rafe Slayton, the number 8, is going to lead the second pack. Right behind him, the 13 of Andrew Player. And then right behind the 13 of Andrew Player is the 51 of Ricky Springer. And then the 28 of Chris Bouchard. So these guys are going to have to start making up a lot of time every lap to cut into a 24-second lead.
These are the nose and tail. That's all they're going to all have to do is this nose and tail. That doing the too wide is not going to cut it. Slate leads the way for these big group in the back as your top 6 are running here nose to tail, coming to complete lap 79.
And with that, I'm trying to take a look at the lap times. Right now, the first group up front running a high 47. You see 47 6s, 47 7s. That's amongst the top 6 right now. As you see a lap, there it is on the screen right now. Whereas 7th on back, which is that second pack trying to hunt them down, they're still running over half a second slower a lap. So it's just not looking very plausible to cut into a 25-second gap. They'd have to make up a lot more time than that. Actually losing over a second that lap alone. Wow.
If they're conserving fuel, it may be.
That's true. That's true. But still, even with the amount of time Samson's gained by themselves, if they are saving fuel and can make it on one less stop, and here they come now. This will be the telltale sign, Harold. How far behind does Samson come out of those few guys that we think could make it to the end? This is going to be a very important and key moment of the race here. Seidefeiden's in, Weishart, Grant, Vollmer, Trader, and Robertson.
Top 6 are in. They were about a half a second a lap faster, so that's going to need for 48 seconds. I mean, they'd have to come out a minute and a half. They'd be able to make up over time, but how long are they going to be able to, per lap? They might be able to get about a minute and a half. Let's see how much they'd be able to do. But hey, trying to do the math in my head here. Half a second per lap they could catch up, but they got to make up 48 seconds or whatever they come up behind them.
Yeah,
we'll watch them here.
It's all going to determine of how much they come back behind, or how much they come out of pit road, how far behind they are from that front group. That's going to be the real key number to look at here. And as they're working out of turn 2 right now, up front, it's going to cycle the lead over to Rafe Slate in that big group again. They're still getting up to speed here in the back. Probably going to be around 20 seconds by the time they're fully up to speed.
Which they would need 40 seconds to get back to the front.
Right, but the next question we're really going to have to look at, there's 4 drivers who pitted 5 laps ago. It's the number 3 of Kevin Hayes, the 35 of Justin Lemke, the 15 of Cameron Hearn, and then the number 38 of Shane Thurin. Those 4 drivers have a chance to stretch it. I mean, right now they're about 1 lap short on fuel, if I had to guess, but they have a chance to stretch it out and make it to the end of the race without having another pit stop. A lot of these guys in the front group will have to make another pit stop. I don't know. It's gonna be really, really tight here at the end. Important note though, Harold, number 49 of Alan Elwood, a VRA associate or VRA teammate to those guys, he just came back out on track. So he waited the 30 minutes to get that engine replaced on that machine, and he's back out there. I think the sole purpose here is to help his teammates save some fuel.
It's just interesting to see his actual times. 50 seconds that last lap, but he had no help. See if he was able to keep up the car. Looks pretty good. Just wondering if that engine is going to be up to speed, or but he's got some damage to the rear.
Yeah, a little bit of rear damage from when that contact was made that triggered the yellow flag. But again, it's going to get wild here. We got, those front, I'd say the front 6 still are going to have to guarantee to make one more stop. 7th place, Kevin Hayes. 8th place, Justin Lemke. 11th place, Cameron Hearn. And then Shane Thurin in the number 38. Those are going to be your 4 drivers to keep an eye on if they're able to stretch the fuel out to the end. Again, still 38 laps to go when they hit the stripe. 28 laps to go when they hit the stripe. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be really, really close to make it to the end.
Yeah, number 54 is in the 13th spot, 17 seconds behind, but they are eating into that lead a little bit, but it's not going to be enough. They're going to have to rely on these guys needing to come down one more time to get cycled back to the front. If not, fuel strategy could be king tonight and award
also,
the winner.
Remember, when a lot of these guys do come in to make their final stop in this front pack, that's going to leave those 4 drivers out there by themselves. In a 4-car draft, we've seen how much slower that is compared to a 7-car pack that we have with Sampson further back. So it's going to get interesting. I really don't know what to expect here as far as the strategy goes, if they're going to be able to make it or not, but they're giving it a great effort, and it's going to be exciting all the way to the end. Can't ask for much more than that.
That one looking pretty darn good here as the guys are down the front here are 2x2 back 3 rows, and then single file all the way behind them as we got fuel strategies coming into play here, as well as the Sampson 6 back there and 13 on back. They're waiting for their number to cycle back to the front. And they're banking on the fact that they'll be around at the checkered flag without having to pit again, while everyone else will have to pit one more time before the checkered flag flies.
So here we go.
Bouchard, bunch of guys coming down. Rafe.
It's going to be Rafe Slate and the number 8,
Larch.
the 13 of Andrew Player, the 28 of Chris Bouchard, and the 51 of Ricky Springer. These 4 cars are down on pit road now. I would anticipate a shorter stop for these guys. They don't need a lot of fuel to make it to the end. We saw them pit 10 laps before the last group of drivers did, so they'll need a splash of fuel for sure, but can't imagine it being too much as the 51's in his box. The 13 of Andrew Player really slow getting into his box. He actually drove through it slightly, had to back up some. Going to cost him a lot of time and might even cost him the draft when it's all said and done with his 3 teammates leaving pit road now. Up front, Michael Larch is going to take over the top spot with the 69 of Reed Wilson in 3rd. Make that second. Second place car is the 83 you see on your screen, James Shanewell. He is 1 lap down.
So the 6 and the 69 leading the way with the 83 wedged between them. We talked about before the 83, the number Shane Wolf 83 machine has been used to help the fuel strategy earlier in the race. So we'll see how that goes with this time by. That would allow us, we're looking still back at the number 3, 35, 19, 38, and the 15 are all on that trying to save fuel strategy. So from 4th to 7th.
I mean, keep an eye on that group. And you look at the 49 of Alan Elwood, he is tucked in right behind his teammate Cameron Hearn. So he will be there at the end and trying to help them save the fuel that they're going to need. But ultimately, no matter what we say or what we talk about right now, none of it's going to matter. All that's going to matter is when we get to 2 laps to go, down to the white flag. If they're still running, if they still got the fuel to make it there, it's going to get really interesting. But again, we've documented Chris Seidefiden, Curtis Ballmer, that whole second group with Sampson, they are good to go. They have made their final pit stop. Right now, they are just under 15 seconds back of the lead pack. They are eating into the front pack in terms of lap time. They are gaining about, they're gaining almost a second a lap when it comes down to, or excuse me, a half a second a lap when it comes to that front field. So
almost a whole second, like you said there, between Larch and Seidenfaden, and 47.9 versus the 48.8. So 9/10 per lap, and that's going to eat in pretty quickly.
Yeah, we're working, coming to get 21 to go next time by, with coming in almost a second a lap. And remember, that front 2, they definitely have to pit. Michael Larch and the 69 of Reed Wilson, those 2 cars definitely have to pit, so you got to take them out of the equation, as well as the number 19 of Rick Christensen. He's another one who has to make a pit stop. A lot of those guys, when they leave the draft, what effect will that have on the speed of the 38 and the 15 and the 3 and the 35? So we'll, honestly, Harold, looking at the lap times right now with Sampson running almost a second quicker every single time by, I think they're going to get there by the end, and that's going to pretty much eliminate those front 4's chances at saving the fuel to make it to the end. So they're going to have to race it out and hope that they got enough in the tank. We'll see, though. We'll see. Like
this is all
speculating.
Yeah, we don't have the computers. Those guys down in the pit boxes do, and they're looking at everything right now, and they're trying, that one team's going with fuel, the other team's going with speed.
I mean, did anybody here in the Twitch chat or Harold, did you guys have a fuel strategy saving race at Daytona on your bingo card? Because, I did not expect it to come down to who could save fuel to win the race at all when we come to Daytona, but that's looking like the way it might have worked out here tonight. But those guys are gaining quick, Harold. Really, really quick.
11 seconds now back to the 9th spot.
Cross the stripe. Make it 20 to go now, so it's getting down to crunch time. A lot of times at these big tracks, once we get down to 20, 15 to go, that's when everybody starts making their moves. Right now, the moves are made on the pit box, like Harold was mentioning, strategy-wise. It's going to be close. It's very, very intense. I can feel the tensions picking up over the radio communications. I can feel the tensions picking up even here in the broadcast booth with 20 to go. It's, man, it's going to get good.
Great job. Green flag pit stops 3 days in a row for our new series, our new league, Aria iRacing. Check them out at ariairacing.com. You said 3 of the leagues are still looking for people who trucks are in a momentary pause until we get that numbers down, with 43 drivers already assigned to that division.
Yeah, Northern Capital Truck Series is jam-packed full, but of course the Lodgebox Series here tonight got some spots open. Tomorrow night, the Sim Speed Shop Cup Series also has some spots open, as well as our Monday night series, the Swift Lifestyles Pro Series, which is also filling up very quick as well. So I would be on the lookout for that to be our next series to get filled up. But nonetheless, if you guys are interested, like Harold mentioned, check out ariairacing.com. You see the rule book, a link to join our Discord as well. Anybody is welcome to join our Discord, even if you're just a viewer. We have a specific role for you guys as well in our community, so don't feel like you have to be a driver to come join our Discord. We'd love to have all of you guys, but 18 laps to go now when they hit the stripe. Michael Larch in the number 6 showing the way, and let's talk about Larch for a moment here. We've kind of bypassed over him because of the whole fuel strategy, but he's ran a very good race, and he's found himself up front for much of the laps.
Yeah, definitely working his way around, but now he's being the leader, so he is eating that fuel tank at probably almost twice the speed as everybody else is by pulling this big group behind him. And you see Player also out there in the clean air, but he's all there by himself, so he has to keep that pedal mashed down and burn the fuel.
Harold, got an update here on the Samson bunch. They gained nearly 2 seconds that last lap. A second and a half quicker, make it a second and 6/10 quicker than the front pack.
As are flying. They're coming. 7 seconds.
Flying.
7.3 seconds back with 17 laps to go.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Ryan Swan up in the admin booth. He was actually the one who just pointed that out to me. He said they gained almost 2 seconds that lap. They are freaking out up there in the booth watching this from the admin tower because they don't know what's going to happen either. Samson is coming in a hurry. Kind of slowed down a little bit that lap, actually. But if you look at the way David Weishart in the number 2, the way he's lined up right now behind the 54, Chris Sidefied him, when we get a shot there you see it now. They are not taking it easy whatsoever. That is some serious pushing going on between those 6 cars. And they're trying to make hay.
They've got the fuel to do it as well, so they don't have to worry about nothing.
A great shot there going down the back straightaway. Getting a nice look at that number 2 Sim Speed Shop Camaro for David Weishart. Down to 6.5 seconds now. It's about to be 6 seconds even when they hit the stripe. 16, make that 17 laps to go. I don't know how to do math. 16 laps to go, actually. I'm wrong again. I'm losing my mind. I am.
16 laps to go. That would put it right at 35 laps for Haas, Lemke, Theron, Hearn. So those 4 drivers definitely trying to stretch this out with all the Simpson guys. You can almost hear Jaws in the background as they're lurching closer and closer. 5.8 seconds back to the 9th place 54 car.
Again, really 4 drivers we're keeping our eye on in this front pack. It's the 3 of Kevin Hayes, the 35 of Justin Lemke, the 38 of Shane Theron, and the 15 of Cameron Hearn. Actually, right now they're lined up 3rd to 6th. Those 4 drivers were the last 4 to pit under this front group that we're watching right now. So they could possibly make it to the end. They're probably a lap or 2 short, but maybe they were saving fuel under this run. So they might be good to go. But once Samson gets up here, which they're coming in a hurry, that second pack, it's going to get really, really racy really quick. And here's another thing. Here's another thing I'm wondering, Harold. Did those guys save enough already? Because once Samson gets here, they're going to have to race with them. They can't just keep saving fuel, or else Samson's just going to blow right by them. They would have had to have saved that fuel already in the last 20 laps or so to make it to the end. I don't know if they did or not. I don't know.
There's somebody coming out pit lane this time, Bob.
At 34 there, Dean Gagliano. Few laps down. He's actually 3 laps down, running 22nd. Got a tough break earlier with a pit road penalty, but he is making his final pit stop of the night. Great shot again up front. You can see the lights glimmering off that number 6 of Michael Large. This is still a big race for him. 14 to go, and he's leading that Daytona.
Getting those numbers in, so maybe he could be the guy leading the most at the end of this and get an extra bonus point. A Player coming down pretty heavy, coming down that backstretch, getting really close to the number 6 machine. As you said, he gets a little bit of squirrely. I think he was trying to get down there. Oh, little contact with him in the 69 now. Yes. He's trying to side draft. He needs to get down there with him. And
here he comes to 54. Here they come, Harold. If you jump on Chris Sidefied, and they are coming in a hurry. 6/10 back now.
They're in the draft, so they will suck up really quick and see if they're going to be able to get around. They're going to take the high side, try to rip around this front group if they can get to. They're going to try to get to the back of Player and try to get around him.
It's going to be getting good in a hurry here. You see the Samson group, Chris Sidefied in the number 5 of Garrett Grant. Now that second car on the outside lane behind them. They're going to be coming up now with a huge head of steam down the back straightaway. They are surging forward on the top side of the racetrack. It is getting good up front and here in the back of the pack, which is, here they go. They're going, they are flying right now. I can't believe it.
Nobody's helped. No, they all got out of the way. Not sure what kind of strategy that was, to know they're coming and nobody jumped to the high line to prevent their full set of steam. They just got out of the way.
Yeah, they pretty much made it easy for them, I feel like. And they're gone now. I mean, once they get out front, you're going to have to pass 7 of them as opposed to 6 of them. There you see Andrew Player is actually going to jump up high and try to hop in line right in front of the 64. Not able to do it. They're actually going to get split 3 wide now. I just don't know if they're going to be able to make it to the end. A lot of these guys outside of the group that we just saw coming by on the high side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now for Sampson and their affiliated teams as they head down the back straightaway. They've taken over the top spot, and it's the 54, Chris Sidefied in the leader.
There's player through the grass. He's
No
single
caution.
by himself, so nobody's going to having an issue with that. As we coming up 11 laps to go to come to the stripe here.
And it looked like it was some contact with the 83 and the 6, as well as the 69 car. That's what triggered that whole mess on the back straightaway. Again, no caution came out. The 22 of Eric Shugart's hitting pit road. It's all chaotic at the back of the front of... I don't even know how to describe this right now.
See, we're riding on board with Weishart as we're watching him in real life as well. And he is in the 4th spot behind his teammate of Curtis Vollmer here. And he's just along for the ride. Wonder what team orders are here.
Oh, they got loose
Somebody's coming out
again.
of the pit.
The 48 of Curtis Vollmer. I'm sorry, I'm all confused right now.
Now the 48 was a little bit further up there. It was looked like that was
Garrett Grant.
Was it Garrett Grant that went down?
Yeah, Garrett Grant
Garrett
came
Grant.
coming in. Interesting. Possibly overheating issues. We saw it earlier with the 49 of Alan Elwood. Maybe he was getting a little hot there, and maybe the engine started to let go. We'll have to get an update on him. We'll see what the whole situation is, because he is the first car. It's actually got right rear damage on the number 5. I'm going to go back and try to see if I can take a look and see exactly what happened. But I think it was a push gone bad, possibly.
Possibly.
The engine let go on the 5.
Wow.
The engine let go on the 5 of Garrett
That's
Grant.
2 cars that have lost the engine tonight. That's unusual for fixed setups.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
And within the lap 10 to go, so we're looking for who was the best paint scheme for the night. We believe we were talking the 69 and all the north-south guys, the North Star guys. The try to get there he goes. The Northern Capital guys as well were being mentioned. Not a really clear winner. We had a few from each, like 3 votes, I think was the most we had for a specific car tonight.
So up front, we got a huge gap now between the top 5 back to 6th place. It's working 8 seconds.
8 seconds, yeah.
And it's looking like it's going to come down to a race between Chris Sidefieden, the number 54, the 48 of Curtis Vollmer, the 2 of David Weishart, the 64 of Ed Robertson, and then the 56 of Nicholas Trader. Those front 5 have a ginormous lead now on that second pack, and that second pack being led by Russell LePage, Shane Thurin, Cameron Hearn, Justin Lemke, and Kevin Hayes. That's the second group that we were keeping an eye on, wondering if they could make it on fuel. Possibly could have raced with them a little bit more up front if it wasn't for the chaos we saw in the back straightaway between Andrew Player and the 69 of Reed Wilson. Did not trigger a caution flag, so they stayed green as a lot of those guys kind of went through the grass. Oh, sideways there, the 48. Way off track here at the front.
Yeah, the 54 was kind of trying to get back, trying to go to the back, and it's like he shuffled them all. Now I'm wondering if the leader of Sampson said, "Okay, boys, first one to the end gets it. Yeah, first one gets it, you know." And so now they're all racing each other.
The 48 of Curtis Vollmer has actually got a little bit of damage on the rear end of that machine now, and he's the leader. So we'll have to see how that affects it. You look at the second pack of Russell LePage, Shane Thurin, and those guys. They're not really put in order yet. You got one car on the outside. It's the 35 of Justin Lemke. Other than that, there's no clear single file running order and working together to try to hunt down that front group. I don't think they're going to be able to do it quite yet. And here we go. We got the 6 now of Michael Larch. He's made the call that he's going to pit. He's the 11th place car there. Last car on the bottom side of the racetrack you see on your screen. But this second group does not seem organized enough to start really trying to hunt down that front pack. And we're working 6 to go now.
And
it's
these guys,
time.
the 38 and the 15, definitely they got to stretch the fuel, so they're not going to be able to challenge. They were hoping that they could stay out ahead enough that they wouldn't need to pit, but now they're just trying to hold on to positions.
Absolutely. See the 48 of Curtis Balmer leading the way. The Northern Capital machine right behind him. The yellow number 54 of Chris Sidefiden. The number 2 of David Weishart's running third in that Chevrolet for Sim Speed Shop as well.
I do like that Northern Capital red, white, and blue that he has on that back rear corner panel, and the United States Marine Corps on the front of that 48.
And here we go now, working 5 laps to go here at Daytona. It's getting down to crunch time. Who's going to be the winner here in the Lodgebox Series season opener? We got 5 guys broke away at the front of the field with a ginormous lead over the second pack. Looks like for the moment, as long as no other chaotic events happen, which we've seen a few close calls between this front group alone, that it's going to come down to these 5. Not to mention, a few laps ago, number 5 of Garrett Grant, he was right here in the mix with these guys. The engine let go coming out of turn 4. Second engine blown we've seen tonight, just from guys pushing way too hard and cooking the motor. So that might be a theme to watch for tonight and as well as tomorrow for the Area 500 right here on this Twitch channel. So keep that in mind. So this thing is far from over. Now we got 4 laps to go. It's Curtis Balmer continuing to lead the way.
Number 6 back on the track. That's Michael Larch. He just got down for a splash and go. There's Shane Wolf down the bottom of the track.
And then you saw the 54 of Sidefiden jump high. The 2 of Weishart went with him, and the 48 of Balmer went to block. He gets left out up top. Now it's going to bring the 64 of Ed Robertson to the lead for the first time tonight. These guys, I think the gloves are off. They know it's crunch time, 4 to go, coming to 3 to go. Who is going to win it all in the season opener for the Lodgebox Series? These guys have worked together all night long, but I think the gloves are off now, Harold. They're going to try to fight it out for the win, and it's gotten Ed Robertson to the point. And now this 54 of Sidefiden kind of peeking out there a little bit, looking high. He's going to duck back in line. 3 laps to go.
Coming out into turn number 1, we got cars coming back out on the racetrack from their splash and go services. Cameron Hearn and Shane Therian still out there in 7th and 8th.
And add Justin Lemke to that mix as well. He's another one of those guys who tried to work the fuel strategy with them. He has not pitted yet either. Those 3 drivers are going to be very, very close on fuel. Up front, though, Ed Robertson in the 64. We haven't talked about him all night long. One of the newest drivers to our iRacing League here this year. Got paired up with a team new to the series, new to the league, and new to the team as well. And right now, this is a pretty good first race for Sampson. You can go up there and lead this thing to the end. When they get to the stripe, 2 laps to go here at Daytona.
2 to go now. He's got 8 turns left.
8 turns left to hold off his teammates nonetheless. Sidefiden in the 54 running second. Balmer running third. And then you got David Weishart running fourth. And how about Nicholas Schrader? Want to give him a huge shout out as well. That 5th car in line. Haven't really talked about him too much tonight. He's been sticking with these boys tick for tat. Every pit strategy call they've made, he has not let them get away from him. He's been riding on board with them. And it's going to come down to these 5 for the win. I think it's going to be interesting because if the 54 jumps out of line in that yellow car, does anybody go with him? And if they don't, he'll be falling back like a rock. And it's going to bring the 48 as the next one to be the challenger for the win.
Turn number 4. The white flag is out. There it is, the white flag. 1 to go, presented by 1 to Go Studios as we hit into turn number 1. For the final time, the guys around the racetrack.
The 64 of Ed Robertson, your leader. Chris Sidefiden in the 54 in second, and then Curtis Balmer in third. Right now, as they work off of turn 2, it's still single file. Balmer jumps to the top side. He's got help from the 2 of David Weishart. Weishart's going to give him a shot going down the back straightaway. And now he's going to look to jump back in line. He's back with the 54 up front. It's the 64 Robertson who's getting a shot from Chris Sidefiden, who's kind of getting a little bit squirrely behind him. Working through turn 4 for the final time. Out here at Daytona, the 54 jumps up high. It's Chris Sidefiden. He's getting a push now from the 2 of David Weishart coming to the stripe. It's going to be Chris
3 wide. Looks like
race.
the number 2 is second. Weishart coming from the back part gets into the second position.
And Chris Sidefiden in the 54 is going to take home the victory here in the season opener for the Lodgebox Series at Daytona. What a strategy call by that group. And how about 1 caution flag all night long? A lot of green flag racing here.
Definitely a heck of a first start as we see the fireworks going off of Lake Lloyd off to the back of the Daytona International Speedway.
Just listening into the drivers chatter about the strategy call and how they were able to put all of that together. It's very impressive to see the 54 and that whole team getting it done, and he's going to come down here and burn it down on the front straightaway. Our winner, the 54, Chris Sidefighting. Burning it down here at Daytona. We're gonna get a chance here to talk to all three of the top three: Ed Robertson, David Weishart, Chris Sidefighting, doing the burnouts here at Daytona.
All right, start talking to our drivers now so we can get with the 64, trying to get a good shot of him. Looks like he's already on pit lane. So
I'll go ahead and bring him up here. 64 here, Ed Robertson. Ed, awesome job, man. I thought you had it coming out of turn 4. It was a close finish.
Oh man, what an absolute amazing race. I knew I had a little front end damage. We were working together as a team absolutely phenomenally, and we had just a little hiccup here and there. Good buddy Garrett just happened to clip the apron at one point, and I hit the brakes just that little bit, but it just wasn't enough, not soon enough, and gave him a little right rear damage, gave me a little front end damage, so I knew I was a wounded duck at the front of the pack, but I was giving it everything I could there with that broken wing on the front nose. Oh, well, man, that was nuts.
Well, talk to us a little bit about this offseason, right? With everything going on, the new league starting up, you were kind of looking for a home, and you found it here at Samson.
Absolutely. A good buddy, James Shane Wolf, I go way back with him. He recommended to me, he stuck his neck out for me, talked to these Samson guys to give me a chance. And I mean, I can't ask for anything. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have a Daytona trophy sitting in my trophy case right now. But what an amazing team. We all got together, put our heads together, came up with a game plan. And we each all had our input. We're all equals on this team. And it showed. We played a great strategy to get us all up here. And it's definitely felt like home already, race 1. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. Oh, excuse me.
Absolutely, man. And I wanted to know, Harold, if you got anything you wanted to throw in before we let Ed go here and talk about any of the sponsors you wanted to thank, Ed, or any of the people that helped make this possible here tonight.
I definitely want to give a shout out to the guys at Northern Capital, Russ and Steve Anderson, for sponsoring this team. I know they sponsor a series within this league. Without them guys, I wouldn't even be here. You guys, Jake, for running the league. Harold, you guys up in the booth. I can't wait to go back, watch this race back. It had to have been just as fun to watch on the broadcast than it was to actually. I can't wait to see what kind of show we actually put on for you guys. But I can't thank you guys enough. Northern Capital with Steve Anderson, Curtis, Dave, Seidenfeld, all these guys. I can't thank them enough. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Ed, man. It's an honor to have you, and congrats on your third place finish here tonight.
Thank you very much.
And then next up, we got David Weishart, one of the onboard cameras we had tonight. David, though, you bring it home second. A lot of strategy went into tonight's race, it looks like, and certainly wasn't an easy one to get to, but kind of talk us through your night.
Oh, man, that was, holy cow. It was, the strategy played out perfectly. Our goal there was to short pit at the beginning of the race, and it just worked out perfect. We got that yellow. We were kind of expecting that yellow. And luckily for us, that was the only yellow we got. and we actually did the same thing. It was actually quite a long debate on whether or not to try to stretch it on fuel or to stop it and short stop the early part of that last run there, and it just so happened to work out that we chose the right one. We had a hiccup there. One of our teammates kind of caught the apron and gave guys some damage, and we had Garrett blow up there with about 7 or 8 to go. But we were gaining enough ground on them. We were able to kind of get cycle back out. And there at the end, we were communicating. We were like, last lap, every man for himself. Everybody's got to go for the win there. And that was an exciting last lap. We just had to make sure we didn't crash us all.
Yeah, that's what that was my next question I was gonna get ready to ask. When was the signal that the gloves were coming off given? Because it looked like about 8 to go, you guys got a lot more racy up front.
Yeah, well, we were trying to get our teammate Ed there to lead a lap. He had some nose damage and really couldn't push, and we let him get up there and lead a couple laps for the bonus point. And so we got a little Chevy from there. He was just a tick slow, so everybody was kind of having to check up a little bit more, but that's fine. Like I said, we had that big gap. We were actually still pulling away, and we all said, with about 3 to go, last lap, it's every man for himself. We got a race, and coming off of 2, I started backing up, and Kurt saw me backing up, and he made a move, and I didn't know if we were going to be able to get to the outside, so I went with Chris there and got him clear of. I thought my only shot there was to get him clear of Ed and go to the outside there and brought home a P2.
Well, I see the Sim Speed Shop colors on your race car, so I wanted to give you a chance to shout out any of your sponsors before we let you go here tonight.
Yeah, thanks Jason Eisenhower and Sim Speed Shop for letting me put their logo and their colors on my car tonight. Hopefully did them proud, and always got to thank Russ Anderson and Northern Capital and all them guys for what they do, and everybody at Samson. I wasn't running as Samson tonight. I was running as an independent, but got to thank them. Unsung heroes of the night. Nick Trader stuck there with us all race, let us do the strategy, and he came home with a good finish too. So congrats to him, and big thanks to him for helping us out there. And man, I can't wait for tomorrow.
Yeah, I was about to say, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night for the Area 500. A little bit of a prize purse put up so far, so it's going to be even more intense. And congratulations on your second place.
Thanks, man.
Give everybody a wave at home since you're on camera. All right, here we go. Number 2, David Weishart, so we can get up to race winner now.
Yeah, our race winner, of course, none other than the number 54 with the last lap pass coming out of turn 4 on the teammate, Chris Seiden-Fiden. Where I think I got it. There we go.
You got it right.
I had to read the pronunciation channel we got, but yes, Chris Seiden-Fiden gets the win here tonight. The 54, man, talk about that last lap.
Yeah, the last lap, the 64 had a bit of front end damage, so I knew he was going to be a bit slower than us whenever I pulled out. But I wanted to wait until the exit of 4 to pull out, and the 2 behind me, he stayed with me longer than what I thought he would. He told me after the race that he was going to stay with me until I cleared the 64, so that was nice of him. And then, I was able to get by the 64 and actually clear him at the end and get the win.
You pulled off the last lap pass, but obviously a lot went into that beforehand with the strategy call and all your teammates working together. We talked to David a little bit. We talked to Ed a little bit. I asked them the same question, when the gloves came off and it was time to really battle it out for the win. How were you guys able to kind of sort through all that? It
was every man for himself. We wanted the 64 to get a lap led there at the end for team point reasons. I'm an independent at Xfinity, but I am associated with Samson. So we were able to get him the lead lap, the point. But towards the end there, every man for himself. And I was lucky to be the second car in line. That's where I wanted to be. If I was anywhere else, I don't think I would have been able to pull off the win.
Absolutely, man. Well, congratulations winning the first ever race here in the Lodgebox series. Is there any sponsors? I know you got a blank car tonight, but is there any sponsors or shout outs you wanted to give out here?
Shout out to Lodgebox for sponsoring the series, Area for putting the league together, you, Jacob, for putting the league together and all the website stuff that you do. But yeah, no sponsors, pulling a Ty Gibbs. If anyone wants to sponsor me, I'm out here. I don't know. But yeah, it was fun. Got the 54 Super at a victory lane. I had a 0x until the end, but I guess people didn't finish. And whenever I was doing my burnouts, I got into the grass and got a 2x. But
Well, hey, the victory I'm sure will make up for it a
yeah,
little bit.
the victory helps.
There you go. So congrats, Chris. And I mean, as of right now, you're in the playoffs already, race number 1. And as long as you
Yeah, and I actually wasn't planning on running the full season, but I guess I'm committed to it now.
there you go. So congrats, Chris, and we'll see you later on, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And that's our race winner, Chris Seidenfeiden in the number 54. I got the pronunciation down, and we'll take a look at our finishing results here for race number 1 of the Lodgebox series. Of course, the winner, the number 54, Chris Seidenfeiden. David Weishart brings it home second, Ed Robertson third, Nicholas Trader with a fourth, Curtis Vollmer finishes fifth. Cameron Hearn able to stretch the field to the end. He takes home a 6th place finish. Rafe Slate with a solid run there in 7th, as well as the 51 of Ricky Springer in 8th. Chris Bouchard comes home 9th, and Justin Lemke rounds out our top 10.
And 11th was Shane Theron, and he was a lap down. Russ LePage, Michael Larch, Kevin Haas, and Rick Christensen roll out the top 15. Also a lap down was Brian Dixon and Reed Wilson. 2 laps back, Andrew Player and James Shanewolf in the 19th position. 20th was Eric Shugart, 3 laps down.
And then rounding out our finishing results tonight, Dean Gagliano in the number 34. Garrett Grant comes home, Garrett Grant comes home in 22nd in that number 5 car. Alan Elwood, both those drivers that we just mentioned with blown engines here tonight. Dean Prince comes home 24th, 25th, the number 1 of Matthew Highmore, and then Kyle Sieg with the 26th place finish on tonight. Not quite able to get rid of those technical issues for him just yet, but we will see all these drivers back next week, and we will see a lot of you back tomorrow night for the Area 500 presented by Miller Racing Graphics. Again, I want to thank all of you for watching and tuning along. Make sure you guys follow the channel so you are here tomorrow night to watch the great spectacle that we have lined up for you guys, and we are looking forward to it. Congratulations to Chris Seidenfeiden on the win, and for our producer Harold Darner and myself, I'm Jacob Bell. We will see you tomorrow.
What an exciting race brought to you by Wendigo Studios. Here they come out of turn 4 to the white flag, and it's 1 to go. Thank you to all our sponsors, drivers, and viewers. We'll see you at the next turn.